Go.
That's from a guy who almost said something that you
Welcome
probably shouldn't say in the first 10 seconds of anything.
to the Battle Vision podcast. We are here. What are we here for, Harry?
But you're trying too hard and you just don't have the means to get there.
I don't have the chutzpah to
What?
get through it. The chutzpah, I think that's a word.
The fuck is that?
It's what I don't have enough of.
Clearly.
But yeah, I do know what we're here for.
Yeah, you do. You do.
I have tons of them in front of me.
Yeah.
We are here for your thoughts and or opinions.
All right.
On season 5.
Listen, you're doing
Unless
it
you
wrong.
didn't comment, then it's not yours. It was everyone else who had the balls to comment.
What we're supposed to say is we're here to talk about what you think about season 5, and you point at the camera. So if you could do that, that would be great.
You.
Yeah, so luckily for us, we do have enough stuff to sustain this for the minimum amount of time, probably pretty easily. But it's not like we haven't had our own private discussions about how maybe people aren't talking enough about season 5. I don't know. I think I actually agree with that sentiment that we sort of raised, but I don't know if we really decided what the truth of it was. I think you brought it up anyway, I'm pretty sure, which is kind of weird given that you don't really, go on Reddit or anything.
No,
so I don't know what gave you the grounds to do that.
The main reason why I thought of it is like, wow, I'm really hearing a lot less about Deep Rock nowadays. It's like, yeah, because I don't go on anything that talks about it. But even then, I don't know, like, it's just less Deep Rock talk generally, right? Like, some people that haven't posted videos in like months have, come back for season 5 now. But still, it's just, I don't know.
And then
which is good.
Well, this is interesting because I have once again, this is something I haven't really said on a recording about these two people, but they have happened to Javarak and Reapy Ron have happened to posted their own podcast-esque video on season 5, which I find entertaining. That those two somehow managed to pair up after the things that I've said about them interpersonally.
Yeah.
Nothing damning. I'm not out to get them. And that's all I'll say on the matter.
Yeah. All I'll say is that I saw that video and then I scrolled right past it.
Oh yeah, that's something I'm not watching. That's like the kind of thing that I am never gonna touch with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
I
couldn't care less about either of their opinions on the game. Which I would say is rude because it is.
It's rude, but it's also like, well, no, hold on. Here's the thing: we should be allowed to be more rude in general than people are, right? I feel like there's been an average decrease in rudeness on a global scale in like first world society and internet interaction as well, and we just need to be able to be more rude because otherwise,
you're not meant
because if we're not allowed to be more rude, we're never going to be allowed to be at all. And we need to be allowed to be because it's an essential part of humanity is being able to be dickheads, I think.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating that you can't just be mean sometimes.
So basically, because we don't like Javarak and Ripuron, we are standing up for freedom of speech and the liberties that we humans hold dear. But yeah, point is people are talking, I guess, a bit more, but we still fear that, if season 5 is to break the record, I feel like there should be a lot more reverberations outside of the Deep Rock cult that is still there after all this time. But
it also, honestly, I feel like it could be reverberating more within it. But no, you're right, because I do want to potentially focus the next episode more on this, assuming that we would have actually seen something else by that point about season 5, which sounds weirdly desperate. That's not the point. Obviously, we've seen a lot already. We've seen way more actually than we normally would for a season before, like the trailer, just from that stream.
Yeah.
But the point is, we talked a bit about how I think Ghost Ship might have accidentally created a community that has a very short attention span when it comes to marketing. in the sense that it doesn't matter how much they show. The fact is, it was all done in one go, which means the community got it out of their system pretty quickly as well. Whereas teasers over the course of many weeks are talked about week to week. It's like shows and dropping them all at once or dropping them in binge format or week to week. I think week to week's better personally. It's kind of weird.
The difference is like a show, it will drop all out all at once, and then people will burn through it then, and it's like it is what it is. But with this, because it's actually a bunch of features for a game, and it's going to release in a couple months, you need to make sure people are talking about it in that couple of months, and the best way of going about that is the weekly installments rather than
but we did burn through it as well. We burnt through it, but we've done like entire podcasts almost on single teasers. Not that recently, but we've done that before. That was actually the first episode. I'm mainly talking about the first episode of the podcast, which was literally just about that very first Nemesis teaser. We literally did an entire podcast on Robo-Dwarfs. But still, it happened, and it's possible for us to have pretty long discussions about very small things. Whereas when we just have like a big, I'm annoying myself in that I'm actually starting to be critical in a way of how they managed it. It doesn't change how excited and how good I think season 5 is going to be, but it kind of just became a bit of a list for us to just get through. Even though we did like a 3.5 hour podcast on it, it was still quite a list-esque video. Which that's not me saying Ghost Ship should change their marketing to make our podcast better, obviously, but. This is why I think we actually could do an episode on it, especially if they have shown anything between now and next time, and the fact that it will be closer, which means we give us more reason to be a bit more critical if we have to be as well, if they haven't shown anything. So maybe we should hold fire a little bit. I don't know, and talk about.
But either way, normally. It is I don't know, just to wrap it up, that we would be expecting teasers at this point in time, and obviously we know way more than we would have if we were just getting teasers. But the community does like teaser season, right?
Yeah.
And we certainly like teaser season. It's when we get views.
Yeah. But we talked about the fact that they definitely could be doing at least one teaser a week since the stream happened.
They've got so much stuff. Even the stuff they've revealed, there's stuff about it they could still reveal, right?
Exactly.
All 3 of the overclocks show gameplay of. All 4 of the overclocks, rather. That they've already shown a bit of gameplay.
They don't even have to. They don't even have to.
That's a month.
Exactly. They don't even have to show other overclocks they didn't talk about during the stream. Just showing mortar rounds in action or the flamethrower one in action. It would be enough. That would be such a cool thing to see. I really want to see mortar rounds in action because I can't really imagine it, to be honest. It's really hard to perceive.
Stalker, or just all of the enemies in gameplay as well. That as well, right? I'm thinking mainly the Stalker and the big rock hard.
Yeah, someone following. It would be like someone following one of the weak points to the main thing and revealing it. That would have been a cool teaser. Originally, which is. That leads into another idea that I had about how they could have done the stream differently, but still kind of did it in a way. But like I said, it's not quite what we're here for today.
They didn't feel like dicking around with making these short videos that didn't really show much of anything.
No, I agree, and
fair.
Yeah, that sentiment makes sense, especially for this season.
Yeah, they're just to the point. We are adding all these things. We don't want to waste time messing around. Here's a bunch of screenshots. We're going to go back to adding even more stuff, right? Which is fair enough, but you might pay the price in that right now people aren't as hyped as they would be if we were still getting teasers, right? I think people season 5, yeah, and now they've kind of already started forgetting about it, and it's not even out yet.
It's I think my idea that I might develop a bit more next time is they probably could have done that stream without actually showing any of the gameplay elements. If you know what I mean, showing these screenshots of the overclocks in the equipment terminal, or just the Hazard 5 stuff, Hazard 5 plus stuff on the mission map. That's all fine, but for the mission type and the enemies and things like that, they could have just talked about them and then said we're going to be teasing them actually what they look like and things like that. Seeing the drill elevator first in a video teaser would have been cool. even though we would have still already known about it from them talking about the mission type in the stream. I think they could have done it differently in a way that still let the teasers be probably even more exciting, actually, because we kind of know what we're going to see, but we just don't know what it's going to look like. But we kind of don't have that. There's no chance for that now, really.
Yeah.
Well, when you can get that is with the overclocks, though. Like, for example, I kind of want to see a teaser of Mortar Rounds in action, for example. Like, I already know what Mortar Rounds is, but I kind of want to see it as well. So that would be a really.
But we do know,
still do it.
We do know we are still getting teasers.
Yeah.
Which is why it's interesting, because at this point in time, isn't it like it would be coming out around about a month from now, right? Like, if it comes out much later than like next week, next month, then it will be not in June for at least consoles, right?
Yeah, I'll say this: as long as they're listen, something tells me that they are actually kind of, and this might be completely wrong, but honestly, from what we saw, I feel like they're almost ahead in a way of the game, of the curve. Like how much it seemed like they'd already done by that point, and still having almost 2 months left. Like we are pretty definitively at least going to be in the experimental branch in a month from now. So I'm not worried about that. I think the plan is when they have like the release window as like June, and it's pretty like just June. I feel like that means they're probably quite confident that it will come out on all platforms in June as well. So I'm not too worried about release dates and things like that. But Tyler, that's not what we're here to talk about.
No.
So focus up, because what we're here to talk about is what you've been talking about, basically. As in, I hope you'd imagine that some of the people who left comments would be watching this. But we've got more than just comments. We've got some other stuff, some stuff that I did. A genius move on my part, I think, to sustain this podcast in a more interesting way. But we'll get to that in the latter half. We're going to start with YouTube comments about... What's this? What's going on?
I'm celebrating. YouTube comments. Yeah. The cool guys that voice their opinions and are, in all fairness, often as wrong as they are right, but it's still cool.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of so some of these are actually pretty interesting. Some of the more basic stuff that will sort of just like either echo or will either echo or reject the sentiment of. Some of them might be fairly simple. Like there's like this first one. Oh shit! Instead of bringing up the comments, I accidentally turned you into being absent. Right, let's not do that. What I want to show you is this. So this is from Bob the Ross. Bob the Ross 4230. As a player that didn't get into DRG until the end of Season 2, I'm very excited for the returning seasons, as well as the new modifiers. So that's sort of a half and half of us. One of those things we are very excited for, the other thing we are not. But I like the idea of someone who is quite excited about the be able to reactivate seasons and whatnot, but also, having the head in the game and still latching onto other parts of the update. It's not literally just like, oh, I get to play other seasons. They're like, new modifiers. Honestly, anyone talking about the mutators gets a big plus from me, because I respect anyone who pays attention to that, because I know that we definitely are. Because that's the kind of stuff that we want. That's the kind of stuff that we not just the kind of thing that we have wanted for a long time. It's like the kind of thing that we want in every update. We're just like, just throw more in every update.
In all fairness, we have always, been getting warnings every update for a while now. It is honestly mainly anomalies, to be honest with you.
Well, you're right, but it's also the nature of the warnings as well. It's them being a side part, which almost sounds like, pushing them off to the side, but that's not the point at all. The point is, warnings never really should have been the main gameplay feature of an update at all.
Yeah, or at the very least attached to the season.
Yeah, like really. Even the Modest Expectations update that added double warnings, I wouldn't say that the warnings were the main gameplay feature. I would say the main features of that update was the concept of elite enemies, which obviously did get pushed to the side, but also double warnings themselves. Even that update, being a very small update that was focused more on modding than anything else, it still didn't... And, the only real gameplay content it had were those two warnings. It still they still weren't the main thing. The main thing was really just the idea of double warnings. So that's why I really appreciate the mutators, because they are being implemented in exactly the way that they should have been. And they're one of the things, in my opinion, that actually represents what's so great about Season 5, genuinely, in it being treated like a normal update, Because you don't get mutated. We haven't, Season 1, 2, 3, and 4, not the kind of updates where you would get mutators as side content in the update. Because that's gameplay content, which either has to be, the main thing or an event. In Season 4's case, it was both. But instead, we can get something that's added to the mission map that is not the main thing. And that's just a beautiful thing to see, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
wonderful.
I mean, it's still kind of crazy that we call it, like, or like the main update or whatever. Like, it feels like that when it's been like 3 years ago since we had one, right? Clearly, that's not the normal updates anymore, right? But yeah, it just feels like it's just everything is perfect and cool. But it's the warnings is one of those things where it is like, yeah, job done really. You've added a bunch of random warnings for just the fun of it to spice up the game a little bit more. Fuck yeah, right.
Yeah, and Bob the Ross also brought up the first thing he brought up was being excited for the returning seasons or the ability to reactivate seasons. But I wonder, because he said they didn't get into DRG until the end of Season 2. I wonder if there's a bit of a divide between like what types of players are excited for that feature, because I think I would definitely say that it would kind of be a bit insipid, if you even know what the word means. Insipid basically means slightly silly. So it'd be a bit slightly silly to be excited about that feature to experience the previous seasons. Because I don't really think that's the point necessarily. Because there's not going to be that much of a difference between the gameplay when you switch the season. That's why whenever we talk about that feature, I'm pretty effusive about the fact that it's more so a performance pass selection feature rather than playing an old season. It doesn't change the game. It tweaks probabilities of events, and that's kind of it as far as the gameplay goes. It doesn't take anything out of the gameplay at all. It's really just a way to add like an insane amount of playtime for new players to experience, basically. For new players to work through. Rather than for you to experience a different form of the game. I don't think switching to an older season is really going to change the way the game feels, like, at all, So I do wonder if there's some foolishness in being excited for it for that reason.
Of course it will change it, like, a fair amount, right? Like, how often do we bump into the Nemesis? Or rivals as a whole, right? Like, well, for me, since I play, like, once every blue moon, fucking never. But I mean, like, it's still probably not that often, right? And meanwhile, you switch to Season 2, Season 1, and you're going to be bumping into those motherfuckers, like, all the time. For better or for worse.
Actually, that's true. I mean, well, see, Nemesis is almost like a really specific one, because Nemesis is like a standalone enemy that will just show up more often. It's not an event. It's not part of a warning. Obviously, they're more common in Rival Presence. But it will just show up more. That's why Season 2 is probably going to be... If I ever find myself just switching to a certain season for no particular reason, just I finished Season 5 and I don't know. Season 2 is probably the only one. Season 2 is probably the only one I'm going to care to have switched on, because I like the Nemesis, I like the comm router, and I like Rival Presence. Season 2 was my favourite season, for sure, like easily. I think when I really think about it. Not that I approve of all of it. It's still, weird that it had a warning as like the main piece of content, and that pales so much in comparison to Season 5. But still, Season 2 was pretty cool, man. I like Season 2, and unseasoned as well. I know that will rear its head in some capacity, I think, for both of us.
It's interesting how it is. This feature is both good for people that really like seasons and good for people that really hate seasons. It's impressive how they managed to add a feature that ticks both of those boxes.
Is it? Well, hold on. Is it good for people who don't like seasons only because of the unseasoned thing, or is it more than that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You can just turn it off. instantly. Just like fuck seasons, fuck that noise, bye.
Well, but the thing about that's kind of not necessarily confusing, because I can see how that would apply to possibly new players or people who haven't completed all the previous seasons because they don't like seasons. But what I'm worried about is people who might jump in and immediately switch to unseasoned, even though season 5 is pretty clearly constructed in a way where you probably won't want to do that. You know, like there's nothing about season 5 that seems like it's going to, oppress your gameplay in any way, like season 3 and 4 did specifically.
I mean, whatever this event is that they've still yet to explain, that's going to obviously be more common. But otherwise,
it's like literally just a big rock that you can mine or not. I mean, it's going to have more to it, but you can. It's still clearly something you can probably just leave alone if you want to. Like, unlike the corruptor, which you kind of have to deal with. Like things like that. It looks like the complete opposite of that. It's just a rock that if you obviously will get more interesting once you actually engage in the event, but it's still just a rock that's just sitting there until you interact with it. So. I think season 5 is done so that you probably won't want to. So it means you must really hate the idea of seasons and battle passes if you immediately switch to unseasoned as soon as you start playing season 5.
I think a fair amount of people have grown to hate it that much after season 4, right? Because that's been a lot of people's breaking points.
I mean, there's a lot of people who play games in general. They might not have that context for Deep Rock. They might be new, but they might just be someone who hates, live service aspects of games, and they're just like, nope. If they're giving me the option to avoid it, I'm out. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. You could do that. I'm going to be enjoying season 5 to its fullest, even though I have considered immediately switching to unseasoned so that I can get all of the unseasoned cosmetics first and then start working on season 5. Because I'm a fucking psychopath.
You're an absolute schizo.
It's not schizophrenic.
Just doing both at the same time.
But how am I supposed to extend my playtime artificially, Tyler?
I don't know. You can't. I doubt even you are going to be able to manage for like the next 2 years. But you just got to give it a good go.
What? Part of me thinks that I can because season 4 was so. Look, let's be honest. Season 4 was so inconsequential, really. That it's kind of been. It's almost been it's been like over a year and a half anyway, to be honest, since the last substantial update, and that was season 3. So take that as you will. I think I'm going to be fine. I don't think I'm going to be. What?
I took it poorly. Shall we move on to the next comment?
Yes, we should, Tyler.
It's me. It's my time to read. Mad Monty. I won't do the numbers, but you are.
4761.
Oh wow! Is it too much to ask for NG to pump his gun with the pump action overclock?
No.
And the answer to that, Monty, is it's not really too much to ask. You probably should have asked them. I mean, Anders probably saw it. In all fairness. So.
Well, something that we know is that at least one of the new overclocks does incur new animations, and what that means is a lot of overclocks technically have new stuff tied to them visually, but I think when they say animation they do mean in terms of what the dwarf is actually doing. And I think if there's going to be any overclock, it would actually be the pump action one, where he does actually pump it in between every shot, even though I swear I feel like my brain's exploding. I swear he already does that. I swear he already does that.
Yeah, but it's after reloading. He reloads and then he pumps it to do it.
So it wouldn't even have to be
pump it every time.
But it wouldn't even have to be a new animation then. It could actually just be no,
not really.
They just insert that part of the reload animation in between each shot.
Really stilted. No fluidity. It's just all of a sudden he's doing it.
He just snaps into it.
Second half of the reload animation.
Yeah. It's literally snaps to that part of the reload animation. It doesn't flow at all. It doesn't.
No, they just don't bother.
That's exactly what I want.
Mad Monty asked for it. They just had to add it. Couldn't stop.
I mean, the only thing I wonder about is if there'd be any change to how, what it looks like when the flamethrower is charging. But it's very possible that there isn't anything because the cryo cannon doesn't. The only time they did that is the sludge pump, where the charge shot is built in, where it has you know, the sludge pump builds up that ball of sludge at the front when you're charging a shot, but the you know, the cryo cannon doesn't. There's no actual animation tied to charging the ice spear or snowball, so probably not for the flamethrower one.
That might be something.
Maybe.
Because the cryo cannon does do a bit of a charge animation, but it's just the kind of usual one that you would do before firing.
Yeah.
But the flamethrower, since it doesn't have that, they might try something else. Like, I don't know, the gas canister starts looking a bit weird or something. It drains rapidly. But, yeah, the next one, I think.
From Cat Ion, I bet Cats, that's you, is most excited for the escort duty changes. To which you replied, yes, even though you were still... I don't think... It's not going to change much, is it? I feel like you've already been clear about that to me. I'm not sure if you've really said it on anything.
Oh, is that it? Yeah.
That's it. You're going. I bet you're most excited for the escort duty changes.
Well, I probably covered it in the last video last week, but yeah, I'm quite excited about it because I didn't expect them to actually do anything about that game mode. Really, I really thought they were just gonna let it rot and be a giant piece of shit. I wouldn't say this solves anything, but it shows that they knew the problem that at least I could identify, right? I assume they should be able to identify more problems with the actual gameplay, but I could just tell from common fucking sense that that final mission part, the Omeran fight, should have more, variety. In a game, the way you play the same thing over and over and over again, isn't variety kind of king? Like, that's like the thing you need to make sure you have the most of. And the Omeran's just like, nah. I'm gonna be
it's like, well, sometimes
100% identical every single time because it's the exact same arena because it carves itself out every time. The exact same attacks with the exact same enemies. It was horrendous, and that's supposed to be like the reward at the end of the mission. So yeah, but now it is slightly better. It will now have a bit more variety to it. Which I feel like they could have gone a bit farther, a lot more simply by changing up the enemy ones as well. Like,
so it kind of
just a Mactera swarm instead of a general one.
Exactly, but it makes me think of season 5 in a lot of ways because so much of season 5, because I feel like most of our honestly, most of our complaints about previous seasons have been things like, why didn't you just do this very simple thing? Like, it probably would have been really easy to add in these little things that just bring a lot to the game. And season 5 is already full of a lot of that. Like, season 5 is so many things of them just saying yes,
Yeah, it is them doing the simple thing.
I feel bad for pointing out oversights in season 5 itself because they are subjective oversights, But I think maybe something like the escort duty one is a bit less so because it's like, they catered to the Olmeren attack phases, but that does mean that they ignored the non-Olmeren attack phases completely. And our idea, all it is just the third stage, make that a random special swarm type. That's all it is, isn't it? That's literally...
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
The first one can always be simple to warm people into the fight, but then, the second wave of Glyphids could be fucking anything. And at this point,
anything, by the way, like, even Rockpox.
Yeah, well, that too, I guess, yeah.
Genuinely, which doesn't make any sense because the Omeran and the Rockpox probably hate each other, for plenty of reasons. But you could, because of the swarm types that exist. Would you like, if it's like, not, I wouldn't even say it as like the price for that, but would you like welcome a Dreadnought as part of that, like a random Dreadnought?
I mean, you can't deny it wouldn't be fun, right?
It would be awesome. Because it would be so rare as well. It would be so rare,
Yeah, it's like, what, a one in like
Alright, so this is still the first half an hour of the podcast. Anders, if you're listening to this, bring it up. It might be actually harder to do than we think, but just try and bring it up.
Yeah, if it is like that, those are very like dead set, just like it's actually, or maybe it's like very specific. Like they're not generic waves; they're actually Omoran waves, which are very specific in like not giving you goo bombers or something, right? Like not giving you certain types of enemies that really fucks with. I was about to say doesn't give you like not crassuses, but the bolt detonators, but they do, right? A bolt detonator can spawn.
You can, yeah.
So I really do think it's just a normal wave. But even if it isn't and you really can't do it, then fair enough. But if you can do it and you thought about it and you didn't do it, I think not fair enough. But it's still a step in the right direction. It's probably impossible for me to like this game mode at this point in time.
That's probably true, but I'm going to say this, at least on principle, and at least for the honeymoon phase of Season 5, you should be able to tolerate shorter escort duties. I'm just going to keep it real with you. Yeah. Like, you shouldn't be like, I'm going to stop playing now. You know?
I'll probably be able to play at least a couple of them to test out the new variety, right? There'll be a bit of freshness in that horrendous game mode.
Remember, Season 5 is filled...
me from making a video on it still.
I'd love to do another one.
It's like 2 years now, but
I would love to do another one of those. But you know, Season 5 is filled with other stuff that helps with that, like the new mutators and new cave shapes, for example. That's just there to just add variety to every mission, potentially. Same goes even for like stationary enemies help a lot with that too, I think, or just enemies in general. Like Season 5 is filled with stuff that's gonna add variety to every mission type as well. So yeah, I've got to give them credit there.
On purpose.
Yeah.
It feels like, you know, they were like, we have 2 years, like it's going to be, you know, like about 2 years. How do we make sure that the game has as much stuff in it as possible to like chew through, and like variety and, you know, layers. And yeah, I think all the simple stuff were great tackling it, and I think this tackled it, right? I always kind of say that, you know, or it's a saying that I can't remember. I think a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. It's something I've credited Escort Duty for being Deep Rock's weakest link. It is a reason why I think quite a few people stop playing the game.
Well, you have. I feel like the metaphor is a little bit more specific. It's still very damning of the overall gameplay loop in some circumstances, but the chain we're talking about is a bit more specifically assignments rather than the game as a whole. But assignments are incredibly important for the game as a whole. But it's assignments that they affect the most.
If you have to play a game mode you don't want to play, that will stop you playing the game. It has stopped me.
Let's bring up that other thing then, in case Anders is still listening. The idea of if you abort, you can reset an assignment by aborting it. You know, we've talked loads about, like, you specifically want this kind of thing where you can, like, blacklist missions or whatever. And some people have echoed that before. I think it's a bit too much power to give the players over the gameplay experience, you know? I think it loses some of the, like, just creative authorship. But if you had the ability to just reset an assignment, meaning you would have to play it from the start, just, you know, that's the price you have to pay for avoiding missions that you hate. You know, you might run into it again at the end, and then you either have to make a decision: do I reset again, or do I just power through it on this time? And I think that could honestly be really interesting, like an actually interesting way of achieving that. You know, because some things aren't going to change. You know, for some people. And honestly, there are some circumstances where I would really rather not play an Industrial Sabotage or an Escort Duty. Those they rank very low down for me. They do. Every other mission I can tolerate to the extent that I actually enjoy every other mission. It's like literally the difference between enjoyment and almost not being able to tolerate. It's like literally two halves, and Escort Duty and Industrial Sabotage are in that bottom half, like purely. You know, even a salvage op I'm always down for. You know, it's like, it's weird. So clearly we can't let go of certain things, certain discussion topics, which is, you know, Escort Duty and its role in assignments. It's always going to come up.
Yeah, well,
but Cat Ion brought it up as well. You know.
Yeah.
But I think we should move on to the next comment. I'm not sure how we're going to do this exactly.
I can just read it all.
All right.
Simply, not going to do the numbers again.
3189.
Season 5. I hate you. Season 5 looks very solid. The only complaint I have is still no rework for perk system. But then I then responded, agreed, but we live in a good world where that's the only complaint. right? Like compared to season 4. And then Old Pert says, let's keep hoping for season 6, which I think is very fair because if we don't get it in season 6, we are never getting it.
Yeah,
I think that's a very, very comfortable statement to make because, like, season 6, we already have a pretty solid picture of what that's going to have in it, like, in, like, the big terms, right? Like, biome, right? They were workshopping a game mode and a biome. The game mode pulled through. The biome probably didn't, but it's still around, right?
yeah.
And obviously the secondary overclocks, right? The primaries, there'll be secondaries, and some stuff like that. And ultimately, with all the things they've added this time, there's only really one thing people want anymore. Like people they want to see give or take biome, right? Give or take. People wouldn't mind a new
I
biome,
agree, but I've been thinking about it. I would really like a new environment to explore in Deep Rock. Obviously, we have the the Morkite geode, I guess, is
it's going to be
something small. It will be. I'm not even being silly. It's something small in that area. But yeah.
But ultimately, after all of this, what will people be asking for? What's the only thing left other than the 5th dwarf class, the water biome, the fucking crossplay?
Well, the point is, okay, crossplay. Well, no, crossplay is one. Crossplay is one though. Actually, that should happen.
It is. It ain't happening.
But no, but the point is, and we've been through this, I think, on mainly the last episode of the podcast, is how this is the only thing left in the sense that Deep Rock is technically feature complete, but that doesn't mean it's in a state where it should be left. Not necessarily. Season 5 brings it much closer than it was in the sense that season 4, honestly, season 3 and 4 barely did anything to bring it closer to being believable, but season 5 is doing so much to the point that really the only thing left that arguably needs to be done is something to the perk system.
I honestly, I don't think. I'm just thinking about this now. I might want to do a video on this alone. I don't think we've realized the damage to the game that's occurred by the perk rework existing or not existing or in the limbo that it is. I don't think we truly comprehend the worseness of the game because of the lack of perk rework, right? We have not received perks in 4 years, right? Probably at best.
I think it happened. I do think the original perk rework, the first one, happened in 2020, maybe. Because it happened before 1.0, and 1.0 was about this time 4 years ago. So, it's been at least 4 years.
Right, and I don't think I'm wrong in saying, and I think you can agree with this as well as you've got guns as the top. This is it. That's the pinnacle of content. This the most engaging thing you can interact with, and then you have with your builds, and then you have your fucking overclocks and perks. They're equal, I think, right? And if anything, I would argue, you've got more perks, so it kind of equals out. But genuinely, if we have just been getting perks for the last 4 years, how absurdly more interesting and engaging builds would be as a whole.
It's so obvious that they actually haven't been completely satisfied with the way perks work for a very long time, because if they were, then we probably would have actually gotten I don't know, any kind of perk changes since
nobody asks for perks, right? I mean, that's the thing as well. When people ask for the perk rework, I think they kind of know in their head they're also asking for perks alongside it. But I genuinely think people don't even understand that they could add more perks.
Well, exactly.
And they could add more perks every single update they have released for the past 4 years. right? But we have received none. This is like the only piece of content that we haven't added like a single one to, and it is one of the most important things to building your dwarf
Why do
and
you
like
think that
creating a build.
Why do you think you've never seen a single change to like, desperately unpopular perks like Second Wind or See You in Hell? Like nothing done to them. It's because they aren't satisfied with the system, so they don't even want to change or balance the perks, because then that would be them locking in. That would then be like, like basically submitting to the fact the system has to stay that way, and which means they clearly don't want it to stay this way. Which means
they don't want to make the rework harder by interacting with the perks more, but they don't want to do the rework because it's never like top priority, which has resulted in one of the most important systems in the game. The most, like, literally, like, you pick your weapon and then you pick your overclock. It's then perks, right? It is then perks. Like, you would then build perks, and that would be like the key thing. Like, I pick Driller, Cryo Driller, right? You then pick Vampire, right? That's like, and then that's like your build. That's an entire build based on a single perk.
But it's like, it's almost different, like, because I have like, I have like default most of my perks are like set in stone. Passives, there's some leeway, but really like my actives are it's dash and heightened senses. Heightened senses changes to field medic in multiplayer, and dash changes to hover boots on scout. That's the difference. I don't want it to be that on literally every loadout, which is why I want certain changes. Like, for example, we have a dash as like a default ability, for example, with perks that can improve it. Like, what we'd have is a worse version, right, built into our characters, but there'd be perks that interact with it, make it better, bring it up to or even beyond what the current version is, and things like that, so that I don't feel forced into having the exact same perks on literally every loadout. And it's fine because I like so much of the other parts of the game, but it's still it's like, we've said it so many times before, but it is the only thing. It's the only thing.
You have literally you have like not really even like, people don't even think about perks in that way anymore. It's been that long. That's my thing. I think if people understood like how much of an important area of the game has been completely deprived of like any form of like interaction or content, it's absurd. Like, it is like, I don't know, like, if I don't know, like the equipment getting overclocked or something.
But it's
right?
it's why people ask for new ways to spend perk points, right? Instead of asking for, they usually suggest a different thing to use them on.
They don't even want new perks. Like, people don't even think, they don't understand the concept that they could add like 10 new perks. Like, I mean, they probably can't quite do that more.
Well, nowadays, new perks is something that we're hoping is aided by Rocore, I suppose. Which is why it coming afterwards makes some sense.
We were still hoping for it to survive slightly until
it's not.
It was more recent than the announcements. Well, before that, we kind of knew it wasn't happening.
It's like, there's more in season 5. Not whatever else is in season 5. It's not that. It's not a perk rework. Trust me, it's not. I would bet literally £5,000 on it.
I would bet any amount of money, because it's just simply not happening. I think they basically confirmed it, right?
Yeah.
But it is literally like, I don't know. There is nothing else. There is, like, especially at this point in time. I think even going into this, the perk rework should and have always been number one on the list.
Yeah,
right.
And it was on the list, by the way. This isn't like a thing where it's just like obviously they've been talking about it for a really long time. We know that, but it's not just that. It was one of the things that they considered doing for season 5, and they couldn't crack it. Once again. And do you want to know why? I'll tell you why that's the case, by the way, because it's pretty. I feel like this is an approximation, by the way, of how Ghost should work. Not like I don't literally know how they work, but they tend to do very well and get shit done when they've actually decided what they're doing, right? So all they needed to do was decide that they were going to do the perk rework in season 5, and they probably they would have got it done, and it wouldn't have delayed season 5 at all. They just simply it was clearly too, I don't know, complicated. I mean, I'm not upset about it upset about season 5 because the perk rework's not in it, not even slightly. But it still would have been they would have been able to do it if they chose to do it. And it's I don't want to say if they wanted to, because they do want to. It's kind of something else. They clearly just couldn't. I do think they're scared. I really do.
No, dude, I don't even think it's scared. With how they've been asked this question for about the 4 years, right? Probably more. We'll say like 3. From at least seasons, people have been talking. Like they bring up the perk rework, and people use that, right? I think if people would have just asked for more perks, but then they were like, oh yeah, but we probably want to add more perks. We want to do like more of a perk rework. So then people started calling it a perk rework, and just that's the term we use now, right? The thing that they never add, the perk rework. And it's like, I genuinely, from the way that they said things, it sounds like they actually can't do it. Like straight up.
But they've never said anything. Do you mean like a technical level?
No. I mean on the fact that they genuinely cannot figure out how to do a perk rework. Like that's what they keep saying, isn't it? It has been going on for years. I do not doubt that they have approached the perk rework like 4 to 5 times minimum. And always they come out thinking we should do something else easier, right? Or like something else we can actually do. It seems, right? It's always,
and that's how you get like you do probably get things like Hazard 5 Plus from that though, like which is something that is like kind of which is awesome by the way. Though. I want to reiterate. Yeah. But I think that's the kind of thing like that's what I'd expect to be replaced. Season 6. If we were to look at season 6 as mirroring season 5 in its editions, then that would be like that slot, I suppose. It might take up more than one slot, but on a primary level, on an initial level, Hazard 5 Plus is the mirror of that in season 6 would hopefully be the perk rework. It might take up more things like promotion tracker as well being absorbed into it, potentially.
Don't you find it interesting how there has been these, we'll say that the origins, right? People ask for the perk rework. People also ask for Hazard 6, right? They managed to find a solution to the thing that they've been saying hard no to for the last fucking 5 years, than something that they've been saying yes they want to do. When it came to Hazard 6, they were like, no, we don't want to do Hazard 6. It's not worth it. The amount of players that will do it is not worth it. We are not doing a Hazard 6. And they managed to twist it into a Hazard 5. Right, but the perk rework, where they're like, yeah, we want to do it, we just can't quite figure out how, has never fucking occurred.
Perks
it's been
Plus.
Years. They've been saying they want to do it, but for years, and they haven't. And there's they talk about the problem with the stars and like all so on and so forth, and that problem has only gotten worse.
Not only have they consistently said no to Hazard 6, they've never shown any interest in pushing the difficulty further in any way.
They specifically stated why it's a bad idea. It's not worth it. It is catering towards like less than 2% of the player base.
But
and
maybe
they did that anyway.
We should talk about that because we should probably move on to the next comment because clearly
maybe. But my point is I think they can't do the perk rework. I actually don't think they're capable. They don't seem to be willing to admit it. Which is a problem because it means that they could have just been adding perks with this system for this whole time. The system sucks, sure. I think everyone agrees with that, but at least you get perks out of it at the end of the fucking day, right? With this new hypothetical perk rework, we've gotten fucking nothing for 4 years. Like, it is a piss take. And if it doesn't come out in season 6, I at least expect another 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 perks. However many the amount of stars that you have can buy, right?
Yeah, season 6 should really just be them bending the knee and being like, okay, we're gonna do something with perks. It might be a rework. It might just be more perks. But we're still gonna do it. We're still.
Yeah, you can't look. You spend a month trying to come up with the perk rework, you get nothing. Then you just make a bunch of perks because you probably would have been doing it alongside that anyway, right? So just add it to the current system because clearly it will never change. And at this point in time, it would be weird if they did change it. honestly, a little bit, right? Like if they completely revolt the perk system, they get rid of those like perks that are slightly worse than the normal ones that you never use again, right? They get rid of all that. You got the
Yeah,
system, the
really,
stars, and all that. It's gonna really freak people out.
it would make more sense to come for the for it to come in the form of an overhaul that comes in the form of just lots of changes and additions to the pre-existing perks, rather than a systematic redo. They could just make a lot of really foundational tweaks to the perks themselves, not necessarily the system, and that could shake up things in the way that they want it to. You know, like for
Either way,
example, I'm sure
yeah.
they don't want there to be any perks that are basically unused, but I know that Second Wind is pretty much never. I also know that See You in Hell is kind of unfairly unpopular. I'm pretty sure. Things like that could be changed just through perk balancing. You know, maybe a systematic a rework of the system isn't really the right approach. It could come in the form of them reworking a lot of the perks themselves rather than the system behind it. It could still have the intended effect potentially. So, but it's not happening season 5, so it's definitely it's going to be a while before we get to talk about it again. And no doubt, if somehow season 5 doesn't do anything with it, we're going to say something. Sure, yeah. Obviously. Good lord. Ugh.
I wonder, like, I don't know. I want to like kind of get like a document that like lists all the stuff they've added since perks. Like it'll be like 4 game modes, 2 biomes, like I don't know, like 7 fucking warnings at this point, right? Like just a huge list, like 3 hair colors, like just an absolute metric fuck ton of list of all the stuff they've added since then, and then just sitting there, no fucking perks. And just I don't know.
That would be the most autistic thing you've ever done. If you actually compile a list of everything they've added since perks. That's so obsessive.
And, I don't know. I think people need to wake up and realize that they've been robbed. But yeah. Next comment, I guess.
I guess. No, because it's actually it's good. This one I'm not going to read the whole name. Sorry, Tyler. It's from user WH8. This is amazing. They said this season wouldn't be groundbreaking, but it sure looks like it will be. I'm curious how the hardest difficulty would compare to Has 6 times 2, especially since it appears there is no way to reduce resupply cost. In a screenshot they showed, how much do you think each icon counts for? I would guess 2 bug icons equals double enemies. So that's talking about... So, to what extent is the update groundbreaking? Hazard 6, Hazard 5 Plus, and how much those modifiers actually change. So let's start with the first part. Yeah, I remember around like the Rogue Core announcement, I think it was Bjorn actually who was on Discord, because Bjorn is a Q&A guy. He was just answering everyone's questions that he possibly could, and that included people asking about how big season 5 will be, for example, whatever. And I think I remember it pretty much, not verbatim, but I can definitely paraphrase it in a way that's accurate to what he said, relatively speaking. He said season 5 will be an update. It won't be groundbreaking. That's basically what he said. And it's definitely an update, you know? But I think the term groundbreaking is difficult to apply because I don't know what it means, and it's probably quite subjective what it means. If there is something that's groundbreaking about season 5, it is just how substantial and different from the other seasons it actually is, because it definitely is going to change the game in a way that, not to the degree that seasons being introduced did, right? But it's still going to change the game in ways that I don't think they expected that they would be doing, just adding this much content.
It is an update made for different reasons than the seasons are, right? Like, the seasons is like incentivizing new players to play the game. That's basically it, right? It's incentivizing new players and giving all. They don't exclusively new players. The season pass is for everyone, but that kind of stuff. The purpose of this update, if we are correct to assume this, is to make the game worth playing more long term. And everything they did based on that, is just that's from then on, right?
Yeah,
The
I
more
think
enemies, just to continue mixing up stuff. Just all the content is the goal was completely different from everything else we've had so far.
I think the point of season 5 really changed probably over time. I think they probably expect it to be a much more normal season at first. And I think once they got started, I think they just looked at the list of stuff they could do, and they realized how much they could do.
That Bjorn thing, that was when they announced that season 5 was like coming out in a year, right? Or like that was
exactly. I mean, I think there's an important point there is that it hasn't changed. They announced at that time, this like the original Rogue Core announcement that included them saying that season 5 would be June this year, and that hasn't changed.
Yeah. But you know what has changed from then? Because they just thought it's just going to be an update, right? It's not going to be groundbreaking. But in that time, when they got to season 5, they realized they have to completely drop Deep Rock, right? Like, they had to come to the conclusion that they cannot do maintenance updates. It means Rogue Core will get dragged out even longer, and it doesn't work. And so they realized that season 5 did have to be groundbreaking, or at least it had to have a goal bigger than just an update. If it was to keep the game alive for 2 years, it couldn't be just an update, right? Not that it was then like it still wasn't an update that was inherently worth the wait, right? Like I don't think that's what they were going for, but I think it was specifically to keep the game playable for 2 years. We're still, assuming 2 years, could be slightly less. It's not going to be much less. It could be slightly less.
I think that's kind of what will prove whether or not season 5 is groundbreaking or not. If it actually has that longevity, I suppose it's almost like we have to wait and see if it is as game changing as it seems like it could be. Because obviously, there's no individual part of season 5 that is actually on its own game changing. Even Hazard 5 Plus, isn't, because it's limited to Hazard 5, which means it's not going to be game changing.
Not many players.
Exactly, but really. Season 5, I think, is actually the most broad update I think they've ever done, genuinely. As in, it's the most aspects of the game are being engaged with for like on a development level, including adding a new difficulty system. It's got the most breadth in covering as many areas of the game like as an update ever has, I think, and that is pretty like notable, I think. I don't think any update has dipped its toes into this many parts of the game, and in such substantial ways, because it's not like a little thing in every area. It's a very noticeable addition in every area that season 5 touches, and I think I don't think any update has really reached. Most updates focus more on one area and do add more. Like Roughnecks at Work adds 2 new mission types, right? On the Horizons adds 2 new biomes. But a new mission type is always going to be substantial. Kitty! It's just really substantial in every area. Even, an update that focuses on those areas would add more, but it's still substantial in every area it touches. Like, if the update was just overclocks, you might get upwards of 2 overclocks for literally every weapon, potentially, but 1 overclock for every primary is still very substantial. It's substantial enough that it feels like there's been a solid expansion of that part of the game. And that applies, a solid expansion to the mission roster by adding a new mission. A really solid expansion to the mutator roster by adding 4 new ones. Same with weapons by adding 12 new overclocks. It's still enough that it feels like you're getting a lot in every part of the game that Season 5 touches. Even if it's not as much as a hyper-focused update would add. And I think that's what I think is so different about Season 5 from every other update that they've done, really. It's just like, there's enough here for you to chew on in every aspect that we are interacting with. Every part of the game. And that's
it's basically awesome. Wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, you're going to bump into a new piece of content, right? It's like, you're just like, close your eyes. Oh, crap, that's, like the changing seasons. Oh, shit, that's a new, that's was it Blood Sugar? That one you just bumped into one of those missions, and then eventually you'll bump into the promotions at the end of the line.
Exactly,
right?
Even like the new unseasoned cosmetics, which I think is a really nice way to label them. By the way, even that's like that part of the game which hasn't been touched for yonks, or touch directly,
We're gonna
I suppose.
accidentally bump into a cargo crate, and oh, Mother Mary, Mother of Christ, actually have something in the cargo crate.
Well, like I said before, I'm more excited about the machine event thing, seeing cosmetics and overclocks when I put a blank core in. I told you, I might shed a tear.
Genuinely. You're going to feel so youthful. Like, we're going to go back in time, like, 4 years.
That genuinely will be like a time machine moment. It's gonna be crazy. So, and I think that is kind of what's groundbreaking about season 5, is what it's able to do despite not like truly revolutionizing the game. It's like a groundbreaking update, even if it's not adding a single groundbreaking feature, and that itself is actually quite impressive.
It's not relevant, but it's just so evil that it feels like, oh my god, Deep Rock is back. Deep Rock is fucking back, and then you realize they're leaving. 2 years. This is it. This is Deep Rock is going. It's not back. It's leaving, and it hurts.
Yeah, but it's going to come back and it's going to give you the Gork Gork 2000 and then go away. It's like I'm not too upset. I got something good out of it.
Yeah,
it came back. It came back with like a fucking 5 Christmases worth of presents and dumped them in my house and then left. It's just like, I'm not too upset that you're gone now because you gave me so much to work with in the meantime.
A bit of a shallow relationship to have.
It is actually, isn't it?
They're gone because they gifted you a bunch. I was kind of hoping for a more long-term, close, intimate relationship, but they gotta go, and at least they left us on a great goodbye.
Yeah. So, and this guy also talks about I say this guy. It's only because your name's a bit user WH8 talks about like Hazard 6 time. I'm calling it Hazard 6 times 2. How Hazard 5 Plus works specifically, like how it might compare to Hazard 6 times 2, and talking about no way to reduce resupply cost, which I don't know if that's a part of Hazard 6 times 2, if it's a separate thing that they just tend to use, like a separate mod. But it makes me think, I would love, because I think Hazard 5 Plus is pretty set in stone from what we've seen at the moment, but I would love it to be something that ideally they wouldn't actually do this so they have room to do the perk rework, but I would love them to add potentially more modifiers in future updates to Hazard 5 Plus, like making resupplies more expensive or things like that. Or actually, I think he said reduced resupply cost, actually. So you can get more ammo. Right. Well, no, because they wouldn't do that, would they? Because the point is just to make it harder. So that's something else entirely.
Although that is actually interesting, of a point to make, I wonder if well,
you could make an anti system, like an anti Hazard 5 Plus system. It's like reduces your like hazard bonus because it's like
No, but it's like, yeah, it makes it easier, but like it is interesting because enemies are going to take more shots to go down, and there's going to be a lot more enemies. Will the game actually be able to support that? Right? Can the game support maximum difficulty?
Well, we don't know if they're like thinking about that stuff, which means that as far as we know, if we are to take exactly what we know on face value, it means they are adding a system that is kind of inherently unstable. And I think
there's a good chance of it.
Yeah, but I think we kind of like that as well. It's kind of like just because it's something that they don't normally do. It's just something that kind of breaks the game.
I mean, you might, with maximum enemies, you might actually run out of like ammo and nitro in a cave, right? And just a normal mission without fucking around, you still actually like use the last resupply for the last push of the mission, like that kind of thing, which is not something in the default experience of the game, right? Like you will always have enough nitro for like another resupply after whatever it is, like so this could be very interesting. Yeah, I know. I think it was in the last point, like you wondering how much each of the value thing was worth.
Yeah,
I think we already talked about that.
Yeah, but I don't think we came to any kind of conclusion. I think I don't really want to try and speculate, to be honest, about that kind of thing, because I'd rather just actually find out. Because also, it's not like that.
It's all going to vary as well. Like,
no, I don't think
because what they do is varying. Of course, it will, right? Like the enemies is like it could be like first point is an extra 50%, second one is 100%, so it doubles. But you can't double player vulnerability, can you? Right? Like they're all going to be different and like have different values when you increase them. Like it's just how it's going to be. And if they are all the same, then it probably just means that more enemies is going to suffer. Um, like might end up with only an extra 30% enemy pool for max, which I think maybe that's they might do that for performance reasons, but like I wouldn't. I
maybe,
think
but
if you're adding
they
more
did also
enemies,
acknowledge that it's gonna affect your
yeah,
performance.
but it would add an extra 1% of enemies, and you're still going to affect your performance, right? It doesn't mean anything. Like you know, like I don't know. I hope they don't pussyfoot. I hope they just give a warning, if anything, right? It's like if you want to use the max double enemies, bear in mind that it will probably break your PC if you were just about running the game beforehand. So I don't know. I think that would be better than them holding themselves back.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah,
already kind of breaking down a weird barrier that they've had up for a while. So it just won't surprise me if it's a relatively, you know, um, what's the word? un Yeah, I mean, I said unstable. There's a very good word for this, and I keep forgetting it. Unhinged. It being quite a relatively unhinged edition, I kind of want that because it already kind of feels quite unhinged of them to do something like this. um, so maybe. We should move on though to a pretty simple comment, really, isn't it?
yes.
Very simple.
Revo Knight 99. I did it because it seemed more reasonable numbers.
12 days ago.
You're an idiot. In my opinion, season 5 looks very promising, and it's already getting me excited for what season 6 has to offer in the future. And to that we
very
say,
forward-looking fellow.
yes, does look very promising. I guess it is like difficult to acknowledge that we don't actually have it yet. It could still somehow suck, but it just it's like promising. Like, is it really a promise if you know you're getting it? It's like I don't know. It's like you're being promised a new iPhone, but then like this is like Ghost Ship is showing you that they bought the iPhone and it is being delivered to your house. Is it really a promise at that point? But I
Yeah.
guess it still technically is because we don't know if the content will work. But with Ghost Ship's seal of approval, it often does. Really, that's what you can trust them on. They might not always add the correct content, but it works when you get it. Except for Randomizer, season 4 was really bad for various reasons.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm really excited to do like the season 4 retrospect. It kind of makes me want to do those episodes in reverse order so that we can start with season 4 because I am so excited to shit all over season 4 from a place of comfortability, right? For that not being the current and potential future of the game. Having
It's
season 5 be so good
yeah.
and making me feel good about, future updates as well would make me very comfortable with being actually being an arsehole about season 4.
Season 4 fucking sucks. All of the content is shit. It feels like ass to play. And then you close your laptop, pull it out, and then you're playing season 4. Like, that probably won't feel too great, will they? Really, will it?
Exactly. But when, yeah. It's like that dynamic changing is going to make me very more, I think it's going to let us do that kind of thing and not feel bad about it. Not in the sense of we feel bad about bashing the game. I don't think anything we've done before. Some stuff we've done before could be considered bashing, but it's all been, from a particular place. We've never wanted to, just bash Ghost Ship as people. But when what you have is so good, I think it's going to make us able to look back on something like season 4, talk shit on it, and not feel melancholic about it. Not feel pessimistic. It's like optimistic bullying almost, where it's like we're able to look back and say this was bad because that's not the status quo anymore, Yeah. And that's going to be a really nice feeling, actually.
Absolutely terrible, but at least we're here now, right?
Exactly. And it's why I don't actually think it's that weird to bring up season 6. I think definitely shouldn't be thinking about season 6 when we've got season 5. But the reason why I think there's some reason to ponder at least one aspect of season 6 is why, yeah, it might actually be more than 2 years before we get it, which is insane. But I have a very strange amount of confidence because season 5 to me, whether or not I've talked about this before, whether season 6 is the last season or not isn't really relevant to this point. I think season 5 still represents a change in the direction that they're going to take for updates, which is, yeah, they're going to be really far apart now, but the point of the updates has almost changed quite substantially. You know, even if there's still going to be seasons, them being seasons is clearly not the point anymore. The point is to just do as much as we possibly can that we know is good, which is why and that's why you get on the roadmap. Season 6 is to be planned after Rogue Core comes out. It's to be planned.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be just as substantial as season 5, if they, you know, or as possible, as substantial as possible compared to season 5, because they have no reason to make updates for Deep Rock anymore if they're not like this, basically. Which is why. That's why
there's no reason to come back if it's not going to be worth it. Right?
Exactly.
Like,
they're not, which is why we're actually. It would be nice if we could get, you know, noticeable smaller updates, but as has been proven, maintenance updates actually were a bad idea, and they might be an even worse idea now because all small updates are going to do from now on is just completely fly under the radar of everyone, especially post season 5. Like, there's no point coming back to Deep Rock for smaller updates anymore. And that goes for seasons like season 4, where they're just kind of coasting. You know, I don't think they have any good reason to come back to Deep Rock unless they have a good reason to, which sounds really stupid, but I think there's something to it. You know, there's no reason to do a small update like the maintenance updates. There's no reason to come back and coast and make a season like season 4. The only reason we're going to come back is to make more updates like season 5. Which is why I am confident about it. Whenever I do happen to find myself thinking that far ahead, which you probably shouldn't, but
yeah, I don't like thinking about it, but like definitely we won't see anything until until Rogue Core comes out, right? That's it. Like we won't see anything about Deep Rock until Rogue Core comes out. After season 5, obviously, and a bit time after that. But like from that point, I don't know. I could see it like we get a season maybe every year if we're lucky, and like maybe a maintenance update like in between then, right? Every 6 months, and the maintenance update is still like as good as the maintenance update has been, right? Like the first one, where it's like maybe a month worth of work, maybe 2. So like it still adds good stuff, but just not much of it. I could still see that being the case, but also I can also see them like adding season 6 and then never fucking touching the game again. So
and it might win some, depending on depending on how that goes, that might be justifiable as well. Season 6 might be good enough. It still feels really weird that we know that it's going to happen, but it's going to be such a long time, and it's still as good as it will almost definitely be, it's still just an update to Deep Rock. And yet, it's weird to know that the next Deep Rock update is going to be around 2 years from now. That's a weird thing for us to have knowledge of already.
Which, once again, I just want to check our maths on this, right? Rogue Core is predicted Q3 of next year, right?
Yes.
And they don't even intend on planning it in season 6
until
they've done that.
That's why I think season 6 is going to be like this time, pretty much like this time in 2026.
Also 1 to 2, 2026. And obviously, Rogue Core probably going to give them a little bit of time to, they would just have launched Rogue Core. They're not going to immediately abandon it either, right? There's going to be patches for the next month or so.
Yeah,
right?
There'll be patches, but I don't think we'll get. I think they're going to move to. You're not going to get like the first major Rogue Core update. I feel like they're going to have Rogue Core be in a more substantial state than Deep Rock was on early access launch, because I think
they would have to.
I think they want to, aside from patches to just keep the game in, just keep it in good nick or whatever. I think they are going to be moving on to season 6 relatively immediately, like within a month, actually.
Yeah,
The patches could continue beyond that for Road Core. They could continue beyond a month, but I think they'll have switched to Season 6 within a month of Road Core launching, for the most part. That seems to be the plan.
I don't know. I fear that once they've done that, they're going to watch as the Road Core that was building up an immense amount of hype and coolness when it launches, and just watch it like slowly peter off again at the very beginning of its lifespan as they work on another game. They're just going to look at themselves and they're going to be like, why are we working on a game which within 2 years, Deep Rock is going to be dead, right? Or at least like comatose or whatever, right? 2 years? Like, how do you expect people to still, like, an amount of people still to be playing, right? Like, we're looking at what, like, during this year, it was down to what on Steam again? You looked at it probably more often, like 13K, right? 8.
I don't
down
know.
to single digit thousands, so still not single digit, 4 digits. But like, we got maintenance updates. I mean, yeah, sure, season 4 was terrible, but we got maintenance updates and actual content still.
Apparently, there's about 13,000 people playing at the moment.
Yeah, which I imagine is probably on the rise slightly, due to season 5 hype. But like, it will be very difficult for them to go back to working on season 6. I think, like, as an actual decision. I really find it difficult to picture, at least immediately, right? Like Road Core is probably going to fucking explode when it comes out, right? Like, Road Core is probably going to have absurd numbers, right? When it actually releases.
Yeah, and then
they're going to be stopping working on that, and then go on work on Deep Rock, which will probably be comatose.
Well, like, yeah, I mean, it's gonna. Like, that means it's gonna be at least 6 months until Road Core gets its first update. You know, like at least 6 months.
Yeah.
The point is, we don't know what the approach will be for Road Core post-launch. Like, you know, whether or not it will be like seasons or something like that. So it is very high chance it's going to get.
The team will actually probably be quite big, right? You would imagine. Like,
yeah.
Give them another 2 years, they're going to be looking at like 60 team members probably. Which, you know, that's like, you could split it in half and have the original amount of people that used to work on Deep Rock, right? Like, you could still have an entire team the size of what you were,
do you wanna,
like, working on either game.
I'm going to throw something weird out there. Do you think it would almost be better for them to have like a B team, and have the B team always be on Road Core, and it's the main team that switches between the two? That might almost make more sense, rather than having a smaller team on Deep Rock. You know, I think you need them all in on Deep Rock when they're touching Deep Rock. You know,
I would say that I don't know. I don't think the B team should be staying. I think Road Core is where you want your A team. That's the thing that's going to be needing direction. Road Core is the thing that's going to be needing Mikkel and Mike and so forth, right? You can't be having them going back to work on Deep Rock, I don't think. I mean, they're probably getting involved in both. I don't doubt that. That's probably the problem they had over the last year, was them getting involved with both. But I don't know. It's just that I think this is a problem that I can really see occurring during season 6, and they intend to continue adding seasons.
Supposedly,
like, they're going to be doing this for like ever, like splitting their attention, like mixing the two. I don't know. I just can't see it. I think that's we've really gone off.
Yeah, we have. It at least partially depends on the effect that season 5 has. Whether or not, you know, if season 5 really does work on the level of keeping people around for at least a year, then I think that will tell them that their methodology might work, especially if their team does get a bit bigger.
Just a really juicy update every like couple years.
Every year and a half at most, if they're going to keep going after season 6. I don't think we should be like, you know, there's no point if it is going to be like 2 years every time after season 6, then you got to drop it. But if you can get it down to like, if you can get it down to just over a year or something like that, then it's worth waiting for things like season 5 tier updates, I think. Especially with Road Court happening at the same time. So, I can't honestly say that I'm worried or excited about that aspect of stuff going forward. I'm kind of just
It's just too far away to think about.
It's just too far away. It really is.
It's just we just need to enjoy season 5, which we're trying to, but they're not giving us anything.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I don't. That's why this isn't too unreasonable right now. This would actually having discussions like this will make less sense in about a month or two.
Yeah, when we're actually gourmeting through the food, right? Then we don't really have to worry about season 6.
Gourmeting as a verb for eating. Gourmet.
Yeah, because we're eating good. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
not everyone thinks we're eating good, Tyler, and that's actually the next comment. This is the double barrel comment. I'll do the Bob the Ross because I've already read from him before. So, go ahead.
Wait, what?
Next comment.
You.
It's both of us.
What is?
After after user WH. Oh no, you don't have that, do you?
No.
It's Oh.
My next one is Vladimir Lutin. That's the only thing I have.
Oh, I think I fucked up. Hold on.
And just read it yourself. It's not at the end of the world if you have to read more than one in a row. But you didn't. I read the lot. You read what? Oh, whatever.
Okay, from Mr. Creek 88. I don't know if I'm missing anything, but I feel like the content they are dropping is nothing when you consider you'll be playing it 2 years before new content. Definitely disappointed in all of it for sure. And then that's I comboed that with Bob the Ross, who says the sheer amount of content added for a new player and me absolutely makes up for the sparsity of what's to come. I think the duality of man.
As in, one man could never be pleased, right?
Seriously, I don't like calling people out, but this guy said definitely disappointed in all of it for sure. Like, you have very little joy in your life, my friend, I guarantee.
Or, and this is completely viable, just because it's so obviously a good update that it's sarcasm, which
it could be.
I think we would be willing to accept.
Well, Tyler, as we're going to discover next week, these people do exist. These people.
Yes, there are people that do look at all of this content and look at them adding the exact thing that people ask for time and time again. Just list it out. We're adding this that you like. We're adding this that you like. Some people will look at that and be like, nah. And it really does beg the question: why are you here?
Yeah.
Right.
If this genuinely isn't good to you, then you clearly aren't going to be satisfied by anything that Ghost Ship are capable of doing. They're not capable of making what you want, clearly. And I don't know what I don't know what you could want. I genuinely would want to ask these people, what do you want? And do you know what they want? If you were to base it off the Steam comment, if you were to base it off the Steam comments, they just want guns all the time. Like, genuinely, that's actually what it is. They just want new weapons all the time.
I think,
which is crazy.
I think good take base from this guy is just no weight, right? Which I think is fair. Like, can you? We said this before, but can you fucking imagine if they weren't leaving this game, right? That they were dropping season 5 and season 6 is going to be what they're working on like soon after. Like, can you fucking imagine how good we would be eating, right? But no, this took. It didn't take a year, but we waited a year, and we're going to be getting this, and then we're going to have to wait 2 more. And at this point in time, you can say, that fucking sucks, and I'm really pissed, right? You can say that.
Yeah,
and
I think this is I think this is the thing that we this is the thing that we let people feel. It's the thing that we let ourselves feel, is that the waits are pretty fucking bad. They just are.
They're horrendous.
Season 5,
absolutely horrendous.
Season 5 is not bad. That's the these are two very different things.
Absolutely incredible.
Horrible waits on both sides, but what sits in the middle is the best update by far. I was about to say since something, but maybe, I don't know, maybe in general.
It's got infinite promotions, Harry. Let's be fucking honest. There's nothing beating this for you, right?
It's my number one update. I'll say that much. But
yeah, and but like it is the ability to separate the two, which is difficult because it feels like you shouldn't, right?
Well, but Tyler, even if season 5 has been in development for exactly a year, like straight up, I would still be like, yeah, this actually makes sense. Like this isn't much less than what I'd expect if
this was actually took them a year, we would just blame it on technical lag or technical debt, right?
Yeah.
Like we would just be like they added like everything we want. It just took them like ages to do it. But as it turns out, their technical debt is like fucking non-existent or something because they pumped out this absolute fucking cum load and just like all of a sudden.
I'm not sure how I feel about the vulgarity of that statement.
Yeah, well, that's accurate. I'd take out the charger. It is an absurd amount of content in an absurdly small amount of time. As in, it's a regular amount of time. But comparing it to season 4 again, season 5, it's like, what fucking happened?
I'm not kidding. I'm so excited to share on season 4. It's weird. It's actually weird.
Oh my god!
And we'll have more than one opportunity to do it when we do the update tier list. Of course, that will include shitting on season 4.
Yeah, which we'll just have to wait until we got our grubby mitts on season 5, and then that shit's coming out. But yeah, no, I mean, fucking hell. This is it, right? That comment clearly just couldn't take the good with the bad, or couldn't take the bad with the good, whichever way around makes more sense. Like they were like, oh, an absurdly long wait. That means this update is entirely dog shit and doesn't add anything of worth. And it's like,
it kind of feels like it must be that. Like it must be because of those feelings. Because if you looked at season 5 objectively, you can't call it unsubstantial. So it has to be born out of. It has to be born out of very potent feelings, born out of the wait for it. It has to be because of that.
There is no argument, right? There's none, not a single argument to say that this update isn't at least as good as the ones we've had before. Right?
Yeah, it's like it's not, it's weird because of how like crazy substantial weapons are as content, but season 5 is objectively on par with season 1, if not more, if not better. And it's because of what I talked about earlier. It's because of the breadth. Remember, that's what I talked about earlier. The breadth of the content.
And considering
like season 1's quite focused, really.
Not just that, but season 1 didn't season 1 take like longer, right? Like, didn't it take like 9 months?
Season 1 absolutely took longer. Because, the update that came before season 1. So, if you look at 2021 in Deep Rock, really good year, by the way, actually. I think the best year in terms of updates, because 2021 you get it's called New Horizon, New Frontiers. I can't remember exactly what it's called in February, which added which is the best update, by the way. That's the one that added the new biomes and the new dreadnoughts. That's February 2021. Then you get somewhere in the middle. You get Modest Expectations, which is a modding focused update that also adds the double warnings. A maintenance update.
I feel like it's important. Yeah,
that's the point.
It was important to clarify. This was specifically that update was specifically short and sweet to buy time until they release season 1.
Exactly, because then you get season 1 in November. So it's really February to November, which is 10 months, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which means I think maybe factor in patches and factor in that smaller update. I think season 1 season 1, obviously they had things in development, like the weapons had been prototyped for a while. The mission type had been prototyped since the Roughnecks at Work update. And even on top of that, it still took at least 8 months within that year to make season 1. So season 5 they probably did it quicker overall.
Yeah, but obviously I think most of the season 1 was probably spent planning, right? They really wanted to figure out what they wanted to do next, and the season. I assume that probably took a lot, like adding season as a thing.
Yeah, figuring out that as like a direction to take the game as well, like just in general.
Yeah. We're not saying that season 1 took too long, but we're saying that this season 5 is as good, if not maybe better than season 1, and it took maybe half the time. We waited longer, sure. But we got more maintenance updates in the meantime. But I don't know. It's
well, let's just say season 5 wouldn't be season 5 if they went straight into making season 5 after season 4. wouldn't have been this at all. It sucks.
Probably not. No.
It sucks to say this, but season 5 is everything else about like Deep Rock and Ghost Ships. They're developed games. Everything that's happening, regards to that, the massive delays to Rogue Core in season 6, that's the price of season 5, which is really sad. Like it
season
is.
5
the truth is, it wouldn't be
only...
this. It wouldn't be this good without those factors, which kind of sucks to say.
Season
but I think
5
it's
is
true.
only as good as it is because of the wait.
Yeah.
It really is. The wait beforehand, so they made it
weight,
worth it.
The weight
and
on it,
more...
the weight that season 5 is, the weight that's been placed on season 5 itself,
and then the weight after it. Like it's just all 3 levels of weight, and it has culminated into a fucking phenomenal update that we have to enjoy if we want to survive. You have this is a magnificent elephant, and we will have to eat it to the barest of bones to survive this fucking winter. But good God, is it going to be good? Not that I imagine elephants taste nice. They probably don't.
No, elephants definitely don't taste nice. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're about to get to, I think, the last substantial comment before the polls. So I want to go to the toilet. I think.
All right.
Before we do that, I was take a quick break. Just get through the rest of this properly. Oh yeah, we're back. I said that we've actually gone to the last comment, but that's not true.
That was a lie.
Yeah.
Fabrication. All right. Vladimir Lutin 1. Season 5 is looking so good. New highlights for me were Has 5 Plus. I think this system could be even better than Has 6, and new Cave Gen. Do you like my voice? I like my voice.
No, you're talking like this guy. Actually, I'm not going to say that.
It's like a TikTok advertisement, like where this is
Season
how people
5
sound like.
is looking so good. New highlights from me were Hazard 5. No, carry on.
Yeah, like that. Only thing I thought was missing was more load-up slots. As you guys have said before, this would add so much more value to veteran players, which feels right for this update, especially given more overclocks. They might be planning it, but we didn't get to see it in the background of any screenshots. Do you guys know the best place to get this idea seen by the devs?
Yes, we do.
To sit the cracks for 18 months. If the only reason is that they hadn't thought of it. Cheers. And then, like the absolute SG Anders is, he says, we'll see what we can do. I'll push for it.
That's why he's the
GOAT. Says that's why he's the GOAT. Yeah, and thanks him because
let's work backwards then.
Very
start
good
with
idea.
Loadout slots then, I guess. Because season 5, like I've already said, it's so much so them just saying yes to so much stuff. So why say no to this? Something that doesn't stop being requested, and they say like, oh, people will keep requesting them, and yeah, they will, but there's no you don't have to go beyond 10 if you don't want to.
They have already said that it is very easy for them to add it.
Yeah.
They've already gone on record to say that they are like, it is like copy paste or something, right? And second of all, I would, that is a reason to stop playing during those 2 years, is running out of loadout slots.
Yeah.
Right?
We're getting more overclocks, we're getting loads more cosmetics in this season.
Yeah. If we don't get any more loadout slots, I'm more likely to stop playing. Because I would have run out of dwarves to
This is your way of ransoming them for new loadout slots, is it?
Essentially, I will stop playing Ghost Ship. You don't want that. You don't want me to stop playing, even though I already have for like the last fucking year. But no, yeah. As Vladimir Lutin does say that it also makes sense, right? It's
I just want to point out, I actually kind of look like Chud Jack.
I have no idea what that is, and the fact that you know what that is means you're
billions must die.
But yeah, no, it's good, and thank the fucking Lord that Anders has seen it, because that means it's at least been brought up.
Is that why he's been absent for the last few days? Because they killed him.
Yeah, they killed him for bringing it up. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think it is something that I completely agree with Vladimir Lutin. they kind of needed to know about it because it feels like something that would slip through the cracks. And as you mentioned, you don't want to wait for 18 months before they realize that it has. So, I mean, I think 18 months is lowballing, isn't it? That's like when Road Core is coming out.
I'm thinking about so if we're being generous, because the relative window that they're given is quarter, but not even that they're given, but that you get when they say that Road Core will take at least 6 months from early access launch, from closed alpha launch to early access launch. The generous window is September next year, which will be 16 months, I think. Wait, would it?
So if they only spend 2 months,
it would be 16 months
on season 6
from now.
Then
15 months from season 5, actually.
Yeah, but no, yeah, it is honestly, thank God. I think if they add more loadout slots, I think we can personally thank Vladimir Lutin.
Yes, I was about to say. I thought you were going to say we can, you can thank ourselves, but I guess we provided the platform.
Yeah, I think we should take credit for this. Yeah. You're right, actually.
Exactly.
And it will
no. But it would definitely be Vladimir for bringing it up, and Anders for being, interacting with our channel at all. And to have played, if that happens and we played any part in it, I'd be happy. If we played, what's that other thing that I thought we might have played a part in?
The changes to the armor.
Yes, actually, that is what I was. Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
That's what and tired of hearing me bitching and moaning about it. And I think this wouldn't have changed that really. I'm just going to bitch and moan more, if anything, now that I know that they agree and feel fit to change stuff. But this is awesome. Thank you, Anders and Vladimir Lutin. Genuinely though, I think it does need to be something. Preferably rip the band-aid off, make it 10. But even just like 2 more will add like a lot.
I think 10 because 10 is the number you can get to where you can justify ignoring people asking for it after that. People will keep asking for more. People will keep asking for more no matter what. But once you hit 10, you don't have to. You can justify ignoring them. You can just.
Personally, I would still do my one where like you have the cap is like the end of the screen, which is whatever number that is. But the person can just add and get rid of where they see fit.
So and you can just scroll
the entire bar.
You can just scroll. I'm actually there's a guy walking past my house on the other side. He's actually got a fucking massive, ass. He's actually caked up.
Hey, stop looking at that dude.
It's like that guy who runs around. He's got this weirdly massive backside. And but he's like a normal person, and he just walks around, and people are so surprised.
Yeah, he got just fat cheeks. But yeah, no.
That was worth derailing it.
Thank you.
Well, we didn't actually get into Vladimir's own highlights, which is Hazard 5 Plus and Cave Gen based answers. I mean, by the way,
we can get into that is.
Well, no, because he pondered if Hazard 5 Plus would be better than Hazard 6. Because Hazard 6 wouldn't happen anyway, so at least we're getting Hazard 5 Plus.
Yeah, either Hazard 5 Plus or fuck all.
But it is more interesting because now this is something I would recommend people watch. Is actually Axis Cronus's recent podcast-esque video that he did on season 5, because he talked about how when it comes to difficulty, there tends to be the meta of the preferred difficulty of players like me and like him. Obviously, we're a little bit different. He sometimes plays modded, but the crossroad of players like me and him, which is everyone who plays on Hazard 5 exclusively, their standard of difficulty is pretty much always going to be the hardest thing the game has to offer. But Hazard 5 Plus introduces a weird spin on that, where it's just given its customizability, how comfortable are you going to be playing with them all turned up to maximum all the time? Can you justify that? Just because that's the hardest difficulty you can play on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, and I think that is inherently more interesting than just adding another higher difficulty. It's a bit more frivolous almost. It's less
I
defined,
think
and I like that.
I think it's interesting because I think for Access Chronos, I think it might actually be more that he plays Hazard 5 because it's the hardest difficulty available. I think for us, it has always been we play Hazard 5 because it's the most fun difficulty, right? Like any lower and there's like barely any enemies, the game's kind of too easy, right? You kind of you just kind of zone out, and it's like zoning out is sometimes fun, right? Listening to music, I'm more than down to sit on the Hazard 4 and just do short egg hunts, right?
Well, I do
But
that, but
generally
it's still
speaking,
on Hazard 5. Like that's going
yeah,
to
because you're better.
become, but that's going to become like doing that on Hazard 5 with as much enemies as possible might become
Yeah.
a top tier activity for the likes of us.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing. It's like I don't doubt that once again, when Tom catches wind that they've shot up the difficulty hazard, we're gonna get dragged into that because like the friend that never comes on anymore, he literally says the game's too easy.
We're doing a weird
He doesn't say
experiment,
it.
aren't we? That we need to accept that it might not work though, but because we're doing a weird experiment where we're not telling him anything about season 5 until it comes
We're
out.
just gonna drop it on him.
Yeah, and
Just to, like,
he might
hey,
not care because he just doesn't care anymore. But it also might catch him completely off guard, and we're just gonna see. Um, it might be interesting. It might not be.
For now, I don't doubt that we're gonna get dragged into the highest difficulty. I don't doubt you're gonna try it anyway.
Oh yeah, no. Well, no,
but,
we'll try maxing it out at least a couple times on different missions and
but
stuff. But
what I know for sure is more enemies will be more fun. Player vulnerability will be less fun. So I probably won't see myself playing that.
I definitely
Of
I
my
could see
ability.
myself going in for enemy toughness on certain missions. I would love to bump up enemy toughness and aggressiveness for eliminations.
Toughness. I think
You know,
toughness is going to be really
no,
interesting.
Tyler, I really want to try like ultra tough, ultra aggressive dreadnoughts. I want to do that.
Yeah. I think the reason why I think toughness is probably going to be the most interesting stat is because that's the build breaker.
Yes, it
right?
is. Yeah.
That is the thing that's going to shift those really good M1000 builds into being literal dog shit.
Well, what it's going to do is going to really bring to bear like what are the best builds, you know, because the build breakers are actually more enemies and enemy toughness
with fire.
Yeah, but
would it insta kill grunts on the highest enemy toughness? If it doesn't, the PGL would actually fall apart at that difficulty.
Yeah. What I want to know is what
to.
are the builds that are going to work on maximum toughness and most enemies as well, like enemy frequency. So when you have more enemies on, you know, maxed out and enemy toughness maxed out, what builds are going to be the meta for that? I want to actually know that because I can see myself going in for playing with most, you know, as many enemies as possible and highest enemy toughness as possible from time to time to like use and find those ultra builds, you know. Because that's going to be a really cool aspect of it. You know, even like aside from me, just observing what becomes the meta for that is going to be really cool.
Although this is actually an interesting point because you know how we've always basically there's you know there is the Hazard 6x2 or whatever difficulty players who like have opinions on weapons and we kind of just like shut the fuck up. Like basically, right? They were like your opinions are essentially not valid. Yeah. Now, they might end up being quite valid, right? The bit of the players that were like, this is good because it works really well in this modded specific difficulty. Now that difficulty might be in the game. So that could be slightly interesting.
Well, I still
stand by the statement, but they might now actually be valid sometimes.
I kind of see it in the sense that Hazard 5 Plus might not be the kind of thing that you can use to bring something down. That might not be fair. But something that's really good on Hazard 5 Plus, I think that works in its favour. And I think that makes sense. I don't think that's a weird divide to have. I think it makes sense to not judge something too harshly if it's bad on maxed out Hazard 5 Plus. But the thing that's really good on it, that's worth talking about.
I'm just saying more that like builds that Hazard 6 players have been using for ages, saying that they're really good and that we've thought are unnecessary and kind of pointless, will now be actually useful and good in the main game, right?
Yeah.
There will now be a modded difficulty level there, unless Hazard 5 Plus goes even harder. Like, really, that like the most you could hope for. I really hope that those jumps between the two are really significant. That
Yeah.
like,
I think
it is like proper difficult
I
if
think
you
there's a
put them
very
on max.
good chance. You mean the difference between the two levels of the modifiers?
Yeah, like,
Yeah, yeah.
Hazard 5 normal, and then you got like the tick, which would be like, I don't know, like player vulnerability. We're talking like 25-50%, right? I'm hoping like if those are like those radical of numbers, then that shit would get interesting,
The
right?
reason why I think it might be is because it's only two levels, which means you need to. There's no point in having two levels and there's significant jumps. I think. Otherwise, you just have more levels. I don't think they want, because the reason they gave for not wanting it to be on other difficulty levels is to make sure they keep the difficulty consistent. Because otherwise, you just have a soup of like, what the fuck is Hazard? Hazard 4 plus. That's just a bit
I'm a
weird
Hazard 4
because it's too
player
many.
with more
Yeah, what's the point of playing on Hazard 1 like with and bumping the modifiers up? Just go higher. Just go to a higher difficulty. But this is going beyond the current peak. And I've forgotten what my original point was.
Is it to do with how hard it should be?
No.
Because
yes.
I think, I mean, realistically, I think if in an ideal world, the tier 1s of everything they're adding would be Hazard 6 Plus or Hazard 6 times 2 or whatever, right? Like that.
That's crazy.
Like,
no, that's wild. I kind of think the
further.
maximum is Hazard 6 times 2, to be honest. I think.
I mean,
that's the
sure, but I think
aside from player vulnerability, which I think can probably get pretty like ridiculous. Sorry.
I don't know. I think I don't know. It's either going to be pussy shit mode, right? Like it's going to be like 10%, 20%.
Don't use the phrase
scared
pussy
to like
shit.
actually make it that hard. Or we're looking 25 to 50, where like a slasher will just straight fucking one shot you, and it's like fuck you and your mother, die difficulty, which would be interesting. Interesting in a bad way, but at that point it's like you're doing it for the challenge, right? And it's normally the mods that give you that, and the mods that do give people that. But I think if Ghost Ship themselves want to do it, mainly because they realize they're probably not ever going to add mods to console, right? Because that was like something they were thinking about initially, but now they're like not happening. So
it's like crossplay,
maybe Moving on.
What's to say? I think it's pretty clear. Like Hazard 5 Plus is like might be the most interesting thing in season 5, like genuinely.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's definitely the thing I think most people are wondering how like they want to get their hands on how it's implemented in the game, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing most people want to.
I want to rely on the experimental branch to make sure it's as ridiculous as it should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope that if it is pussy shit, people in the experimental branch are like amp it up.
I especially hope if it's already quite nuts that they don't complain.
That's
you've got to hope. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
If it is too hard, if like a bunch of players that just about play Haz 5 put it to max difficulty and then bitch and moan about it being too hard, right?
Yeah.
Like that was worst case scenario. And at that point, we just have to hope that people with bigger and louder and more important voices like shout over them, right? Like I just hope that like I don't know, the bitches like just people that barely got to 5 somehow completed the task to get into it, then put it all the way on hard. They're like, it's too hard. I just hope Axis Chronos like bans them or something. I don't know, just some moderator power, just someone that like just is above them, just tells them their fucking place, because God knows, do I hope that no one listens to him. Yeah, no. Should be interesting, really fun and interesting. But now is for the final comment for reals this time. No,
it's not. We got Kodamon. 1-3. Oh yeah, hold on a minute. So I have definitely fucked this up then. Haven't I?
What are you up to?
Oh no, because you read that one, so this is fine. No, it's fine. This is the one in between the two that you're looking at. right?
Oh, right. This is still Vladimir Lutin. I forgot he
No,
talked about Has
yeah,
5.
yeah. Konamon 1352. I haven't complained about any season so far. Maybe you should have done. More Rock and Stone is never a bad thing, but most excited for more cave variations and always new bugs. Rock and Stone. Nice, simple, good take. Yes.
You can just tell that this is the kind of guy. He's just he's a golden retriever or Labrador of
All right,
humans.
careful, because we don't have any good reason to be mean to him.
In what universe was I being mean to him? This guy.
You're calling him a dog, Tyler. You're calling him a.
I'm calling. He's just happy.
You're calling him a dirty,
He's
disgusting Rottweiler.
His favorite game just got more cool content, like always, and he has got ear to ear, grin to grin. He is living life. He is chuffed, rock and stone. Like he's unironically just loves that shit. He's just having a gay old time. He is on one.
Hard to have gay time on your own.
It's hard to be that happy anymore, Harry. It's really hard to be that happy. Like realistically, like could you muster that kind of energy? You couldn't, could you? You couldn't look at Deep Rock and be like, another great update. I love everything they do. Rock and Stone. You can't.
It's kind of I think it's what I feel whenever I watch like an Edgar Wright movie. Maybe. I don't know.
What a very waste of time statement. God.
Fuck you.
See? He would never say fuck you. He would say thank you.
What are you doing? What kind of character are you turning this guy into?
This guy's Fred from Scooby Doo. He's there. He's having a great time. He's just there to make traps and split up with the girls for no particular reason.
Fred's a freak,
goofy old guy.
Fred's no. Fred's not a good person. Stop it. He's Shaggy.
No. Fred is no. He doesn't. He goes off with 2 girls and then doesn't think about it for a second. Not in any way, shape, or form does that thought cross his mind because he's Fred. All right. He is a simple man with simple needs, as this guy.
What we're saying, Kodamon, is that you definitely get into threesomes on the regular.
I don't think that's what we were saying, but I think that's what we'll leave it on.
All right.
Now, finally, the final comment. Finally real this time. Finally, Cation again, right? Because it was in the year earlier.
Yes. But this is your turn, and it's a big one, and it's a weird one actually.
All right, I'm just going to read it, and then we'll do the deconstruction or whatever, right?
Yes.
Really looking forward to season 5. Not gonna lie,
Stop
it's looking
like that. You fuck.
It'll be the best season yet.
Agreed.
Looking forward to seeing the stationaries, which is a very weird thing to say because if we didn't know what he meant by that, he's just looking forward to like a pair of scissors and a paperclip, right? Like, like it's a bit odd.
No, that would be stationary. Stationary is already plural, Tyler.
What? I said 2 things. All right, and clearing a room with them in it on Has 5 Plus. Also, curious how many promos I have on everything, and I'll finally get to see. And then there's like a face. I think he looks satisfied. I just realised Katoyon is the player, isn't he? Isn't he? He's the guy who's the absurd level, right?
Yeah. So I just realised, yeah, Katoyon. That's right. Yeah, I think that's right. You are like a very, very disgustingly high level, and haven't been keeping track of your promotions. Like I have been,
which I respect. It's their job; they should be doing it, and they have been.
They have been.
Pay the rewards. Yeah, looking forward to the new mission, mutators, and cosmetics. Don't know about the Ebonite mutator though. You should. Curious what will happen with that. Hopefully, it won't be another low O2 or haunted cave, or I avoid it at all costs. CBA. I assume there was meant to be a T there. Cation, God, amateur hour over here.
Where? No, he says I just avoid it. I avoid it because can't be asked.
I completely misread that.
Yeah, you did.
Wow, amateur hour over here. Me, sad face. My concerns are that turd-looking Vartok.
You made that sound like part of the comment. You made that.
Yeah, turd-looking Vartok thing spawning its weak points in annoying places, solo, and the new cave generations. I remember this comment now. Season 4 introduced new
Season
cave
3, by the way,
generations.
I think that's meant to be season 3.
Yeah. I mean, I think they, yeah.
No.
Annoying me when I'm solo. Before season 4, I never had aborted a mission because I saw the map generation and couldn't be bothered with it. I prefer the simplicity of the maps in pre-season 3. If it is season 3, he's going to run the whole time.
Yeah, he's quite confused, but also not confused.
And hope more maps like those show up. I missed them. Which I guess we'll talk about some stuff we haven't talked about yet, right? The stationary enemies.
What about them? I guess he does talk about the Vartok specifically.
Yeah, well, the Cato says he's looking forward to seeing the stationaries and clearing a room with them, but then proceeds to not like the turd-looking Vartok thing. Which that one's the weak point one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, to be honest, I think because they just showed less, right? We have less of a picture of what it's going to be like. Like we don't really know how far those things are going to be away. They might be really annoying. We don't know how it's going to shoot. Is it going to be like a fucking like hit scan cannon, or like what kind of stuff it's going to be? It
definitely looks more like that than anything else.
We don't know how like tanky it is even once it's opened up or whatever, right? It still might take a beating and get to shoot you in that time,
unlikely.
or it might just die instantly, right? Like there is a lot of questions on that one in specific. The other two we have a pretty clear picture of, which is why a teaser would do a lot of work with this guy. But it seems like a lot of Katoan's concerns are with Solo, which I can't relate to, but I assume you have any concerns on Solo, Harry? No? You think you can take it all with the good and the bad? The bad obviously being new cave shapes, apparently.
Yeah, okay,
just a very interesting take.
That is definitely the most interesting part about this comment, is being upset about new cave shapes. Because that's something that we like just consistently sing the praises of. Like we have on like I'd say at least a dozen occasions pointed out that being one of the better things about season 3. You know, that they just did that in season 3 because for some reason we hold that in high regard. But not for some reason. The reason being in that it does actually give a lot of like variety to the game. It really helps out every mission type basically. And it's just a very welcome addition that we happen to like a lot. And I've never seen anyone else ever complain about it either. So there's also that. It's clearly not... I think it might be somewhat alone in this concern, carry on. Or this dislike for new cave shapes. I find it deeply disturbing, I must say. Don't do that.
There was it sounded like the cat was gagging, but like both cats are there and there, so I have no idea what it was. Yeah, no, I think honestly, and this is not an insult, but I think that is some form of mental disability. Like,
okay,
because I don't know the exact term, but like not being able to deal with a cave, like having not being able to deal with a cave you haven't seen before is probably something in one of those things. Not being able to deal with that to the point where you quit the mission, that you walk into a cave and you're like, I've never seen this layout before in my life, and then you quit. I mean, honestly though, it does explain the high level, right?
So what we're talking about here is a fixation. We're not gonna mention any specifics about what disorder that could be related to, but clearly a fixation is apparent. A fixation on Deep Rock that you clearly have, and there's nothing wrong with that inherently. It's not amoral, but it might be unhealthy.
Have a pretty alright grasp of point extraction cave shape, right? We have a rough idea of probably all those. I'm not as fresh on the newer ones. Like the hive ones or the pillars or whatever, but the old ones I basically knew off by heart. But this guy, Kadayon, has probably played enough to where he know all of the cave shapes. At least you did until the new ones, and now you're getting even more new ones.
Oh which, no!
Yes, apparently
I hope
it is.
That I hope that it helps you understand the silliness of that. Maybe not that I should be saying that. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way, except
I think feeling comfortable is pleasant. That's why I mostly do point extraction and egg hunts. It's such a simple, comfortable mission to kind of tackle. Really,
yeah.
Like I'm not a huge fan of like the stupid networks of caves that some of them do. Not
point,
most of
like
them.
Point
do,
extraction
really.
sometimes does though. That's the high.
Yeah, well, point extraction is just but it's all like a spider's web. There's a center. But some of them you just kind of get lost for the lost sake.
Lost in the sauce.
Not so much too bad though. But point is, I don't blame you, but you should probably get checked.
Fucking hell, man.
I genuinely, I'm being slightly rude, but I also think it's just a fact. I don't know. I think he knows. He would know. But yeah, no. Cave shapes are good. Shut up.
I think that's the final verdict, really.
Yeah. All right, and that was the last of our comments, which makes it sound really bad, saying such a mean thing to the final commenter. That sucks, I guess.
You're not gonna try and subvert it, or retract it, or say something nice.
I don't mean it as an insult. There's no insult. I'm just saying I've never seen a more clear condition than that comment. I'm sorry, but if a new cave shape is that triggering, there's something there. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's not like criticism. It is,
okay.
It is a purely. I don't think any. There might be one or two other people who would have the same thing, that have this problem. I don't think it is anything to be concerned about game wise. That's what I'm kind of saying. I don't think he's onto something, because I think if I thought that, I would have something. But I don't know. I'm just saying. Sorry, not sorry. See you later. Probably on a stream at some point.
See you later.
I'm not you're going to look forward to. It's going to be quite awkward. Yeah, I think that is the comments. Thank you all for commenting. Apologies for the things that me or Harry said.
I don't think I said anything untoward.
You wouldn't think that, but that doesn't mean you didn't do it. But now, 2 hours in, right? We're about that, aren't we?
Pretty much exactly, actually.
We're gonna do a second half. Start that now, aren't we?
No, it's not. It's not going to be that. I don't think it's going to be that kind of thing. But I thought that it was appropriate to broaden our horizons, as you might say. Not that I wanted to directly source comments from Reddit. I think that was a horrible idea, and that was proven by most of the comments that I got anyway. But one thing that Reddit does provide that is quite useful is the ability to carry out polls, which is a very easy way to collect arbitrary numerical information that you can then turn into a statement about the community's thoughts on Season 5. So what I did, I collated all of basically pretty much everything in Season 5 into 2 separate polls, because obviously the maximum 6 items per poll. So it's 2 parts. One of them was the headline features, and the other one was the other stuff. Naturally, I got comments on the part 2 poll saying, where's the new mission type? And I say it's on the previous poll, and then they'll say something stupid that's like going to Italy and not eating pasta. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. But what's important is really the polls themselves. I kind of don't know if I want to talk about the comments at all. Maybe the first one.
The one juicy ones.
One that we talked about earlier. Yeah. But really, it's polls. The polls. So we got, this is the part 1, and I think it's pretty clear what's going on here. So this is the headline features, basically. This is kind of what you get on the. This is kind of what was on the side of the. If you look at the On Horizon stream, they had that list of stuff. This is all the stuff that was named, basically. And it's got 144 total votes, and there's some clear leaders, you know. But I don't know if we want to talk more about the other thing. So
there's a solid, you got a 2, 2, and 2, really, don't you? I think. I guess not really, but like, yeah, mission type. Everyone wanted the mission type. There's no fucking surprise there, right? Mission types
it's just a very obvious headline feature that it's easy for a casual player who happens to be using Reddit to just click on.
Yeah, only a casual will click on that as their favorite feature. They clearly they don't really know what they're on about. Everyone knows the new season event is the most based take because only one guy did it.
Yeah, that means it's based, doesn't it? That totally doesn't mean that nobody gives a shit about it whatsoever.
For two reasons for that, right? They haven't advertised it in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing to get hyped about, right?
They supposedly will advertise it specifically.
Yeah, but no one gives a fucking shit about the season event. Like, it's what we've been getting every single time. People are basically tired of it, like, in its entirety. We still have to get it because script, but it's no fucking surprise that only one bloke is. Actually, no, it is a surprise. Who clicked on that? It must have been a misclick. I think someone accidentally clicked. They meant to click new enemies or season selection, but accidentally Corestone. That poor fool. And then accidentally click submit as well. I think is something you have to do as well. So
yeah,
that's a real embarrassing time. But then new overclocked being next is no real surprise, is it?
No, not. I don't think. Well, so do you find any surprise in season selections numbers? I don't think I do. I think it actually makes sense.
Anyone who jumped in after season 1 or even halfway through season 1 would like season selection. And if they don't feel particularly any way towards new overclocks, like they haven't gotten them all yet, so even more new, or they don't really, care that much about a new mission type specifically. Basically, I think the newest of new players, there's only one thing they care about there: the season selection. I think that is the most appealing thing.
It's the only thing that makes sense to them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like all the other stuff, they don't really. They don't really have the context for anything else, But season selection is the only thing that doesn't really require context, I suppose, to understand why that would benefit you.
Every week, it's like stuff like that. It's like like new enemies. Like they haven't even seen a I don't know what's the little worm thing in Parasite Infestation.
Parasite.
Fucking.
What you want the name exactly? The carnivorous lava.
Yeah, they haven't even met a carnivorous lava yet. So what new enemies is there? They don't really care. I mean, it's like for people like that, it's like season selection because they know that they would love to go back and play the other seasons. Like, whoa, we can play old seasons. That's like not a thing in most games, or we'll be able to. So yeah, I'm not surprised. That's probably where all those people are. I assume newer people.
Yeah, I suppose. Maybe the most surprising one is new enemies being quite low down. Maybe, but obviously, I think
we've got new enemies all the time as well, right?
Yeah,
it's the same as
not only do we get new enemies, like have got new enemies in every season. Season 4, that was also one of its that was like literally the only substantial thing it really did in terms of adding to the game's pre-existing attributes, was adding some new generic enemies, and they kind of burned people as well. So you can kind of see why.
Yeah, every time we've added enemies, it's not gone well, right?
Yeah, it's the most. It's the area. It's the thing that they consistently add to that has like the lowest hit rate. To be honest.
Yeah. Every single time, no matter what, and even currently, it's like people don't mind the septic spreader, and the Stingtail got nerfed into oblivion. That's like the current state of those two enemies. Like, yeah, great content, guys.
So you can actually see why new enemies would be pretty low. Like, it's not something. I think it's something that most people can't justify being really excited about, because
I think it's something that Ghost Ship seem to feel obliged to add every season. But I'm glad they they made it interesting this time round with the leftover stalker, but mainly they know like stationary enemies are long overdue in the normal pool, which it's true. So I'm glad they approached that. Instead of just adding some, I don't know, fucking deep enemies or whatever, right? They didn't bother doing that and making them season based, which I don't blame them. And then yeah, the new difficulty is that's season selection is new players, new difficulty veteran players.
I
Right?
hope
That's what those numbers are.
I know this is literally if we consider those two things, it's literally a sample set of 32 people, right? But I still think that represents, if I were to be a horrible, biased, self-absorbed idiot, I would say that represents the importance level, in that new players are substantially more important given how many there are, but veteran players, even if they are a very small percentage of the population, they're still like, a third of the importance, because
Thing is, though, Harry,
they represent.
use that argument,
yeah,
and then you'll notice that those two representatives are still vastly inferior and only half the amount of the mission type enjoyers group of the community. And I'm obviously joking, but also I mean that just the average player is the most important thing, right? New players are like that, old players like that. Most players, that's what they gun for, right? Generally speaking, that's why season is just for everyone.
But the average, because there are still, I'm willing to bet there's still quite a few people who voted for the new mission type who are veteran, like long-term players.
Yeah,
and they are part of that average.
Thing for the new players as well.
Yeah. What brand new players do you think are voting for Hazard 5 Plus?
Yeah, I think that's just a schizo. I think that's just a dude who's just launched into the games, like absolutely cracked out of his goddamn mind, and it's just like playing on the hardest difficulty as much as quickly as he can. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious, really, isn't it? The two things that we've gotten tons of for the last like 4 seasons, like of course, no one was looking forward to it. The two kind of contents specifically for a type of player, the newer player who hasn't completed the seasons, and the someone who's definitely completed all the seasons and is pushing up against the edge of the game. And then you've just got the general good shit content that everyone wants, winning out overall, which is telling, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you want to move on to the second poll now? I think that might make sense. Yes. So the second poll was basically not literally everything else. Like you notice, the new player affliction overlays aren't there. By the way, yeah. So this is interesting, but I want to point out. So the new player affliction overlays aren't there, for example, or like I don't know, new dance moves. This is like I chose the six things that I thought made the most sense to put here from the miscellaneous section: promotion tracker, new mutators, armor and attack, cave shakes. New mutators, paint jobs. So yeah, it is. Interesting.
Proof that Papillon was wrong.
Well, it does that, but that doesn't mean I would expect this either. Because I didn't expect this. I did not expect new cave shapes to be number one. I expected probably the mutators, really, and they are second. Honestly, I would expect the cosmetic filtering system to have more. I'll say that as well. Easily.
I think this is it's something I don't like about polls, generally speaking, is that like there are many people that liked cave shapes and cosmetic filtering system that would just never have voted for it, right? It does feel like a lot of these things people probably still like a lot, right? Like I imagine most people like all of them, but for some reason, new cave shapes is just what most people pick. It seems apparently, which I don't quite blame them, really. I mean, of the lot, new mutators is only really the thing that I think an average person would give a shit about. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not surprised it has slightly less votes. If you want to look into that as well, like people wouldn't have voted as much on this one. Not by a lot though, so it's not too telling. But yeah, new cave shapes fucking stomped him. It's a bit odd, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right about polls anyway, because obviously in new maintenance paint jobs, I'm not saying I'm surprised it's got barely any votes, because but that's still a system that they talked about on the stream, and they were like, oh yeah, we really like that system, we think it works out quite well, and it gets like barely any votes in this poll, but that doesn't mean it's like Doesn't mean people don't like it. I think people do like it.
No.
For sure.
Yeah.
But there's
I
also
don't like. I think if you were to click worst or like least looking forward to, least favorite, like new maintenance page jobs, I doubt it's going to be up there at all. Probably, I don't know, maybe the new mutators would probably be the worst one there. I think people would hate because it's the only thing that has like a chance to really fuck people over.
I mean, maybe Cat Island doesn't like
like
that the Umaran fight's going to change at all.
yeah, that too. But yeah, no, the new mutators, like one of them might be bad. It's like the only thing there that has like a chance of that shit occurring.
Oh, I mean, I think Blood Sugar
maybe...
as an anomaly might be really annoying.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, I don't know. I think most people also don't really care about this kind of stuff enough to think about it too much either. As well, probably a good chance.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point. Yeah,
um,
it's like it's not like none of it is as eye catching, and I guess new cave shapes happens to be the most though.
Which is why they didn't put it on the side, really, isn't it? Like why they kept it, out of the limelight.
Well, none of this was on the side. That's the point. It's all miscellaneous.
Yeah, like as much as some of it is gold, like a promotion tracker, ultimately they just shoved it near the end, hidden. And clearly, it's not really, can't blame them. It's only got 7, right?
Yeah, this was still definitely my favorite segment of the stream, though, for sure. I mean, obviously, Hazard 5 Plus was the turning point, but that's also because it was the last thing before this, and then suddenly, God, that was genuinely such a roller coaster, like crazy.
It was it felt difficult to believe it was real, like genuinely.
But like, it was such a roller coaster because like it almost became like bad at first, and then it was this mix between this was almost the worst. This could have been like terrible. Like genuinely terrible. That's where it almost was at that point. It was like, I don't think
they delayed season 6 by 2 years, and we were like, oh,
this isn't going to be. And then I was thinking, what we know about season 5. I was like, that's not enough anymore. I've just realised that season 5 might not cut it. And then they started getting into season 5. That didn't change it. It kind of stopped me being excited as I probably should have been for like the overclocks and the mission type. Spotting new difficulty on the side had an effect. I'll say that much.
Especially on the chat as well. The chat fucking blew up.
But that did become a turning point when we realised, oh no, I think they know. I think they get what they're doing. I think they know what they're doing. I think they know that it's going to be a while. And then it suddenly became the most excited I've been about Deep Rock in general.
Your dreams, probably.
Yeah, it was such a fucking roller coaster. It was awesome and confusing. It was so weird. I think we're very close to the end. I think I'm going to flip the order as well. I think I'm going to get through this sort of not as interesting comment thread left on the second poll, I think. This is between me and someone else. So from JJ999125, considering about 60% of my 1400 hours is using exclusively the autocannon, I'm hyped to get my hands on mortar rounds. Big Bertha could probably use a break. And it's like, yeah, I imagine that's probably the case if you almost exclusively use one weapon. I think I just responded saying that I think, the Thunderhead is in a good spot already, but mortar rounds looks exciting enough to give it some juice, and how it should shake up the meta, given that it's going to be competing very hard with Carpet Bomber. More so, I think Carpet Bomber is going to be competing with mortar rounds. It's more so going to be the other way around. Mortar rounds is going to be the new exciting fella that everyone wants to get their hands on. So Carpet Bomber might have some issues there. And this person responds with saying, I think it's more that the autocannon doesn't have anything that changes how it functions / playstyle too much. It'll be nice to finally get an overclock that actually introduces a change to its gameplay, like how Hurricane's overclocks do. Well, I think Neurotoxin definitely changes how you use the Thunderhead, for sure. The fire and forget style of gameplay, whereas the Thunderhead is usually fire and focus your fire until the thing dies. Or until the crowd dies. So you already have that. But that's just someone having a much more specific highlight for them in terms of excitement, which is specifically the Thunderhead overclock. But I think I align with this individual somewhat because I think out of the 4 that they showed, that's definitely the overclock I'm most excited for. and we sort of established that last week, definitely. What are you doing?
Unshut. That is one cat in French.
Is that all the French that you know, by any chance?
It's still the French that I use on a daily basis. I often just point at them and say unchat.
About bonjour.
I don't know what that
about
is.
Bone apple teeth.
I use that. I do use bone apple teeth.
You know, I said bonjour.
You said bonjour.
Yeah, of course I did. That's what the stupid people think it is. You know, it's people who are like, bonjour, it's French for hello, dumbass. It's just like, do you really think that French for hello is just two random English words?
Bonjour. That's how it's pronounced.
Fuck you.
The hand.
You're doing the final comment anyway. You actually have it, so.
What am I doing?
You know the one.
No, I don't.
It's green.
The final one I have is the JJ999.
Go up a bit.
1251. Okay,
I don't know why. I shouldn't have given you that one, really.
Timothy?
Yeah.
Alright. All of those are amazing, but it would be an actual choice if season selection wasn't on there. Not only it easily allows you to disable season content and play through older seasons, it also makes it way easier to grind for cosmetics, since you won't be getting them in pools with their exclusive items anymore. And instead, for progressing in older seasons, and in these season passes, you'll also have all of your progress you had before. I struggled to the end there, if you noticed. And then some dude was like, "Well, the numbers don't add up for it to be for it being the best feature." And then Timothy says, "People are too hyped up for the new content instead of old content and cosmetics exclusive to cargo crates, lost packs, and cosmetic overclocks being attainable far easier." Which I think
I want to point out the being obtainable far easier should have still been in the brackets, because if you read it without brackets, it doesn't make any sense. People are too hyped up for the new content instead of old content being obtainable far easier. That doesn't make sense. Whatever. Also, Danik's wrong, by the way. What?
Isn't that entirely legible?
It kind of works, but the idea of
people are too hyped up for the new content instead of the old content being obtainable far easier. That is this entire point. Man, you suck. You suck. Leave. Alright, now I'm the only one here. So this guy, I think he makes a pretty fucking good point.
You shouldn't have said that.
Tyler,
what do you mean? I can't. What do you mean? What's a good point? I couldn't hear you, you dumb fuck.
I think that's all I said, Harry. I think he makes a good point in amongst a point I don't agree with. I don't care that much about the old content thing, but I like that he is a bit based in that he values the older content and the way that you accessorize and use it and chew through it than inherently new shiny glitz and glamour. I think that is slightly based. He's clearly also kind of new, maybe, because he actually cares about playing old seasons and is grinding through the cosmetics. But still,
yeah, but so much of the new content isn't that flashy. Like Hazard 5 Plus is like. It's like just a system, you know.
New hazard. That's what it's doing. That's what it's doing. It's going new hazard, new game mode, new event, new enemies.
Yeah,
new cock and ball.
It's not like But the point, I can't say he's based. I don't think I agree with that because all of the new stuff is actually really good for once. So I can't say. I'm on this guy's side. But the other guy's also kind of wrong because he said that, the numbers say that it's not the best features. That wasn't the poll. The poll was what you're most excited for, not what you think is objectively the best. So, I think, we think we think that reactivating old seasons is actually the most important feature overall for the game.
Easily twist into the best feature.
Exactly.
If it's most important. So, Harry, we technically do agree with him. So, he is based, and you are cringe. Checkmate.
All right, well, that's it. We're done here. Oh, God. Imagine if we ended like that. So, we're done here. Bye. No. If you enjoyed this episode of the Bavishing Podcast,
that's how fucking Penguinzo finishes all of his videos. He just
no
like,
one
he's
calls
like,
him that.
I don't know what they've got. Charlie then, Moist Critical. He's got
Critical,
so many fucking names.
Just critical, or Moist Critical.
He's not. He's never critical. He's just rude. He calls people like mean things online. And says cock and balls and cum and shit and stuff like that.
Fart.
Yeah.
Poop butt fart drama is insane. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, then say it. Say you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe. Subscribe. Click bell if you want to stay in touch with Deep Rock and Roadcore. That might be a better way to say it, actually. And of course, thank you to our illustrious member, not plural, Box Fox Scoot. You are our rock. You are our anchor. You keep the lights on.
Is he actually still a member?
Yes. That cat looks like both equally completely clueless, but also very aware that he's on camera.
He's a thinker.
All right. I've got one final thing to reveal.
What is it?
They're not real glasses.
Oh, glasses are fake this whole time.
I made you think I was smarter than I really was because I was wearing glasses. I just froze for a moment there. That really threw me off.
You did. I could hear you dying.
Oh my god. Anyway, next week will be much. Next week's going to be awesome because we're going to actually just shit all over idiots, basically, anonymously. We're not going to include their names in it.
It's always fun.
It's going to be basically the polar opposite of this, where we covered what you guys had to say, and all of you are beautiful, radiant, shining examples of humanity. Next week, we're going to be diving into the utter depths, literally worse than like animal torturers, you know. Anyway, we're done here. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
He's so EP.
I love him. Can we get that picture? Can we have that picture? Can you move your hand?
Picture
of him in case we need to use that. All right, that's good.
You're looking directly at. Oh, he's about to yawn. There he goes.
We'll just have this picture. Oh no, that's something else. That.
I assume you've ended it by now, right?
No.
Oh my god.
I'm just gonna save this picture of the cat.
Oh my lord. Who's a tower? Ah! Lord. He's a double lord.
I mean, this is what people want to see. So why would I stop them from seeing this?
It's true.
What the hell?
The cool thing is he is such a cutie pie that he doesn't actually wound you. His brother, Evil, will tear you apart. This little guy, he'll attack you and he'll probably come out more injured than you. Booja, booja, booja. He's vibing. He's straight vibing. All right. I think this is his podcast now. I'm gonna head out.
So am I.
It was fun while it lasted.
All right, let's leave.
Yeah. See you later.
Whoa!
Oh, his co-host disappeared.
They're terrible at this. They're terrible podcasters.
They are. They've not said a damn word. Yeah. I mean, I think everyone likes cats, right?
Everyone should. Some people don't because they're just like, oh, cats just don't. They don't like you. They suck.
I did used to before we had a cat. I did used to think they were just little fucking evil goblins that attack you and shit in neighbours' gardens, which we
And
were the neighbours in this scenario.
and
And now I think they're evil little shit goblins that shit in your neighbours' gardens. But they're also adorable. He's so
I
easy.
genuinely don't want to stop the recording because I feel like this is actually gold.
I mean, if you don't like watching cats, then you can have ended the video by now. I doubt there's going to be much gold at this point. I doubt they're going to have a really insightful moment.
They might do something crazy. You never know.
I do know they're pretty like. I mean, I guess they've just woken up. Like, I wouldn't say Echo's even woken up. Have you woken up? Huh? Are you woken up? I wouldn't say so. His eyes are open, but there's nothing going on back there.
Pardon me. Bye.